elsewhere.
How many of y'all have kids? I'm just curious. Here's what I need you to do. When I tell you this story, think about your kids. Think about your child coming home from a night out with their friends, laying down, going to sleep, feeling somebody come in the room and wake them and drag her out of bed, naked, forced on her knees, with her hands over her head, begging for her life, begging for her hero, her father, me, that couldn't be there. She was 5'3". She weighed 115 pounds. Bang! Dead. Gone. Why? Because Alexander Devontae Dickey, who was arrested 39 goddamn times, 25 felonies, was on the street. How about that? How good are we doing for our family? How good are you doing for your kids? He should have been in jail for over 140 years for all the crimes he committed. You know how much time he spent in prison? A little over 600 days in 10 years. He's only 30 years old. He was committing 2.65 crimes a year since he was 15 years old. But nobody could figure out that he couldn't be rehabilitated. Well, you'd have to put him in prison to see if he could be rehabilitated. Isn't that the idea of prison? But no, my daughter wanted to be a teacher. She finally figured it out 2 weeks before she was executed. How pathetic is that? That we're letting our 22-year-old kid visiting friends. It's all she ever wanted to do was visit friends. And she literally was executed while on her knees begging for her life. Her name's Logan Federico, not Irina. And you will not forget her. I promise you. You will be sick and tired of my face and my voice until this gets fixed. I will fight until my last breath for my daughter. You need to fight for the rest of our children, the rest of the innocents, and stop protecting the people that keep taking them from us. Please.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. How are we doing? How are we doing for our families in these places? And obviously we're in the base camp here in Chicago. How are we doing? It seems to me that it's going to take, unfortunately, dads like Logan Federico's dad, dads like Joe Abraham, who we've had on the show before, whose daughter Katie was killed by an illegal immigrant in Champaign, visiting friends, U of I. It's going to take like their relentless commitment, I guess, their relentless presence, because I don't know what else penetrates in our culture anymore. You know, I can read you the daily headlines, the daily body count from the Chicago Press Corps or from CWB Chicago. I can read you, mentioned yesterday, 16-time felon attacks stranger with hammer. 16 times. I mean, and that's, probably on the low end or median in terms of the number of times that these repeat violent offenders have been arrested and released to commit another crime. I don't have the stats on this guy, but Uptown Panhandler breaks 82-year-old woman's knee after she denied his request for money. Wonder how many times this 49-year-old has been arrested. Well, let me suggest that he's been arrested many, many times, because this is the rare case under Pritzker's no cash bail law here that somebody who commits a simple assault like this is actually remanded for trial, as he was. Now, that's because Jim Murphy was the judge in the case, and he's one of the good judges in the Cook County circuit. But the point is to say, you can bet that this is not his first run-in with the law, and over and over and over again. And there's not enough victims that come forward, understandably so, or their families, understandably so, trying to cope with what happened to them or their family member. But I don't know if what you heard from Logan Federico's dad doesn't move you against politicians that we're very familiar with in Chicago and Illinois, and are in similar offices, as I said, in big blue cities and some not so big blue cities like Columbia, South Carolina, around the country, then I don't know what will. Then we have a real problem that doesn't look like it's got a ready-made solution. And I know you can say, well, it's Trump sending in federal troops to back local law enforcement. But if you're not moved, if you have a majority of your residents of a metropolitan area who are not moved by the facts in the cases of the deaths of young women in the examples I provided, like Katie Abraham or Logan Federico or Laken Riley or Irina Zrutska or so many others, then I don't know. Matt in Mount Greenwood.
Hey, good morning, Dan. I am not a pessimist at all, but I have no faith that these politicians care at all about the constituents. They've seen dozens, hundreds of cases now, murder, rape, and mayhem, and they don't change. And unless it fits their narrative, they don't speak up. And the constituency is numb. Too many people become numb or afraid to speak up, to your point. Something big's going to have to happen, and unless one of these politicians lose their own, they don't care. I truly believe that. Have a good day.
Thanks for the call, Matt. Even when they do lose one of their own, it doesn't seem to move them. More committed to the ideology, to their own political viability than even the public safety of their own families. When a family member of Danny Davis was killed, murdered in Chicago. Did that change Danny Davis? Did he become an outspoken advocate? I'm just using him as an example. Did he become an outspoken advocate for getting serious about repeat violent offenders? About violent offenders generally. They don't even need to be repeat. Maybe, as per Mr. Federico, if you interceded the first time they committed a violent crime and attached some real consequences to it, we would have somebody who is not a repeat violent offender. Maybe if you were serious about exfil programs for ex-cons that are coming out that actually produce results in terms of reducing recidivism, like the program I mention all the time, Hope for Prisoners out in Clark County, Nevada, run by my friend John Ponder, then maybe we wouldn't see these crimes that are otherwise preventable. But it just doesn't seem like we have, in these metropolitan areas, constituencies that are ready for that sort of adult discussion. They're happy to turn a blind eye to it and hope it doesn't happen to them. And just sort of go along with the virtue signaling politicians they've elevated who are demonizing law enforcement or a particular politician they don't like, and that suffices for their civic engagement. Marvin, Burlington, Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. I don't think it's going to change until these people are voted out of office, because it's their ideology that they've been taught all through their high school and college over the last couple of decades, and they believe it more than anything. It's their religion. They have no God. They have no soul, and they will continue to vote for people other than the benefit of their own citizens, which is really astonishing that people keep voting these people who vote against their own interests. It's I don't know what you call it. It's some kind of syndrome. I don't think it's going to change until they're all voted out.
Thanks, Marvin. Coming up at 5:38, we'll turn our attention to just exactly the type of cynical politicians I was referencing, because Jelly Belly and BLM Brandon had a big presser to continue their demonization of ICE. That was yesterday. We'll talk about it at 5:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 65 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. An investigation is open in Illinois after a reporter's car is hit by a pepper ball outside an ICE facility. Fox's Jeff Manasso reports from Chicago.
Village of Broadview police say they've launched a criminal investigation after a CBS Chicago reporter claims that she had a pepper ball fired at her vehicle that she parked outside an ICE detention facility. The reporter saying she wasn't hurt, though police say they expect full cooperation by the Department of Homeland Security. And as ICE and border agents expand patrols across Chicago, they say with a job to do. Protesters say they're not backing down. In Chicago, Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
And Illinois U.S. Representative Mary Miller says parental rights are being diminished and it's time they speak up. Before filing a proposed constitutional amendment relating to parental rights, Miller says too many policies diminish what she says is the country's foundation on faith and family. U.S. House Joint Resolution 127 was filed and placed in the House Committee on the Judiciary earlier this month. This report is sponsored by Blindster.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now...
Join AM 560 on Thursday, October 2nd in Glen Ellen for a conservative conversation, an evening of insight, inspiration, and ideas on how conservatives can unite around shared values to advance a common agenda. Speakers will include Pastor Lorenzo Sewell of 180 Church in Detroit, Jeannie Ives, and John Anthony, with each bringing a unique perspective on faith, policy, and community leadership. Get your tickets today at 560theanswer.com/conversation. That's 560theanswer.com/conversation.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for. For this free information, call 800-422-1609, 800-422-1609, 800-422-1609, or simply visit godra.com.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Croscom.
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Croscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Croscom.
Call Croscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Croscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Croscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Croscom.
Croscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Croscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CroscomPublicAdjusters.com.
Protect your liver and give it the support it deserves with Active Liver from New Nordic. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or at newnordicusa.com.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be very warm with abundant sunshine and a high of 82. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a low of 61. Tomorrow will be warm with sun peeking through high clouds, reaching a high of 77. By Thursday, it will be very warm with a mix of sun and clouds and a high of 81. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Attorney General Pam Bondi issued a memo to all Justice Department components, making this clear: violence against federal officers will not be tolerated. The DOJ is deploying agents to protect ICE facilities, arrest agitators on the spot, and bring the strongest federal charges possible. That was her missive. The news was 100 DOJ officers heading Chicago's way, DHS, I suppose, officers, heading, per the DOJ, heading Chicago's way to back the play of ICE officers that are engaged in Operation Midway Blitz. Well, that's probably the order of the day, considering that in this sanctuary state of Illinois, the word has gone out that local law enforcement is not to provide any aid to ICE or federal law enforcement officers in any circumstance, including if they're under assault, say, by these Jacobins outside of the Broadview facility. So they have to send the cavalry because in the infinite wisdom of the political leadership of this state and this city, we are not going to allow local law enforcement to cooperate and have the backs of federal law enforcement, and vice versa. That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. So the assembled political powers of Illinois yesterday in front of the microphone, Jelly Belly and BLM Brandon and Kwame Raoul, all of your favorite new Marxist Party stars, were out and aligned, shining bright, outraged over the prospect that more federal law enforcement officers would be coming to Chicago.
When they get somebody who's a criminal and take them off the streets, fantastic. Just to stop people because they're black or brown and demand papers. And if they don't have papers, to detain them and in some cases disappear them. And I am outraged by what's happening.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. White supremacists, jackbooted thugs, disappearing black and brown people. You'll note I just discounted the first part of what he said, the idea of removing criminals from the streets of Chicago or anywhere in Illinois is something that, of course I support. No, he doesn't. That's something he says, but it's not something he actively supports. In fact, he actively supports exactly the opposite policy position. Outrage. Disappearing black and brown people. I mean, again, because he says it like this, matter-of-factly, it's a perfectly legitimate position to take. That's a perfectly reasonable statement. That's based. Anybody interested in challenging him to prove up that claim? In the Chicago press card? No. I understand. No, of course not. Don't want to make anybody uncomfortable. And he's got more. He's got more wild accusations that are said in a reasonable tone of voice, which magically makes them reasonable and turns them into aphorisms that you'll see on placards outside of the Broadview ICE facility.
For Donald Trump and the MAGAs in Congress, this is not about fighting crime or about public safety. This is about sowing fear and intimidation and division among Americans. It was about creating a pretext to send armed military troops into our communities. This is about consolidating power in Donald Trump's hands. What he plans to do with that power, now or during the 2026 elections, should worry all of us.
So this is the conspiracy theory that Jelly Belly has put together. You send the jackbooted thugs in to disappear black and brown people and use the manufactured crisis of lawlessness on the streets of Chicago to send ever more troops in for the real purpose. Are you ready for it? You understand what Trump is setting up to do for 2026? He just intimated it there. He said it explicitly previously. It all comes together. You know, the yarn and the push pins on the bulletin board in Jelly Belly's office lays it out clearly. This beautiful mind in the governor's mansion. So stay with me. Stay with our governor. He's doing this in advance of the 2026 election because...
Well, I believe that one of the reasons Donald Trump wants to send troops into American cities is because he wants to be able to take control of the 2026 elections. Remember that back in 2020, he and Michael Flynn, the former general and former advisor to the president, talked about actually taking control of the ballot boxes in 2020 because they didn't trust the outcome of the election. Now, if they've got troops in cities and it becomes a kind of norm for people, then it won't be abnormal for them when they're going to vote having troops at the ballot boxes.
See?
He'll say that he's protecting the ballot. And if he thinks there's some kind of fraud, and what I mean by that is if he thinks that his party isn't going to win, then they very well could do what they suggested they were going to do in 2020, which is take control of the ballot boxes. So I believe that is what this is about. It's about intimidating people from going to the polls who would not vote for his party, and about the ability to take control of the elections if it doesn't go his way.
So stealing the election. That's what this is all about. Stealing the 2026 election, probably 2028. If we even have an election under this dictator. This is what constitutes a serious argument from your two-term governor. And I understand that a plurality, if not a majority, of the citizenry here will nod their head. Really? Or at least, you know, do you think? I know he is a bad man, but could he really do it? Oh, my God. The prospect that someone would rig an election in the state of Illinois. How horrifying. I mean, it would be comical if it wasn't such a depressing commentary. See how he pieced it together? Has it all come into focus for you? Buffoon. And so is anybody who buys this bilge coming from that pile hole in the middle of his head. Russ in Des Plaines.
Yeah, well, he's going to say there's no white guys getting arrested because I guess from Poland or Ireland or whatever where they come in here, there actually hasn't been a problem. But, I mean, I'm just saying, I'm sure there's some Polish people that are, you know, criminals, but, you know, we're going to get the illegals, and they didn't pump in from Europe or whatever as much as they did from the other southern nations, right?
Well, yeah, okay, thanks for the chorus. Yeah, but people who've overstayed their visas, for example, you know, not to get into Iowa superintendents, but people who've overstayed their visas, I mean, they're eligible for removal and have been removed. And, I mean, we've run through the profiles of some of the people that have been arrested. I mean, that we're in the hundreds now in Chicago. And as I said yesterday in our conversation with Chris Clem, Chief Border Patrol agent in the Yuma sector out in Arizona, one thing I would be critical of ICE here is ICE, Tom Homan and crew, the whole operation, DHS, they need to pump out more of this on a daily basis. That comm shop needs to be working overtime to produce profiles on the people they've taken into custody and what their status is and what they've done and where they are in terms of the law enforcement process or the removal process. We need to continue to provide more information in response to this demagoguery that you get from these craven political hacks like Pritzker and BLM Brandon and everybody else that was assembled at that press conference yesterday. Ron, Southside.
You know what? He's a fat piece of garbage. And don't give me that black and brown crap, okay? Because I know, I'm talking about the black community. I know the devastation of crime because of the policies of this Marxist policy. So you know what? Get that crap out of here. And like I said, I mean, listening to that father, it was gut-wrenching. And then
Logan Federico's father we played earlier. Yep.
Dan, I mean, when I said I actually felt it, I was sitting here, it almost hurt me. I couldn't take it. And then you got to listen to this fat piece of garbage. He is scum. Have a good day.
Thanks for the call, Ron. Speaking of election integrity, because I know this is of deep concern to Jelly Belly. Somebody called yesterday when we were talking about Iowa Superintendent Ian Roberts, the superintendent of Des Moines Public Schools, who's in this country illegally and has a removal order, final removal order. Yeah, he is. Somebody was asking, is he a registered voter? And we have the answer. He is He has an active voter status as registered as a Democrat in the state of Maryland. According to Republican state delegate there, his registration means that he is eligible to vote in all federal, state, and local elections, despite not being a U.S. citizen. And also despite likely not having lived in Maryland for the better part of the past decade. Talking about states like Maryland or Illinois and how the integrity of their voter rolls. I know these are deep concerns to Jelly Belly. People who are in this country illegally, who have no right to vote, being on the voter rolls and voting, that sort of fraud is of deep, deep concern to everyone you saw at that press conference yesterday. Well, you just heard the conspiracy theory. Trump's going to seize control of the ballot boxes next year with all the federal troops he's deployed to Portland and Chicago, Memphis. Yeah. Because those are material and, I mean, first of all, that he would do it, period. But secondly, that these are material places in terms of the outcome of 26 or 28, the whole thing. But the incorrigibility here, just to stick on the good superintendent, Ian Roberts, the Des Moines School Board is responding. These left-wing honkies in charge of the Des Moines schools. Roberts underwent several background checks, including one by the state's Board of Education examiners. Oh, well. Des Moines Public Schools officials have stated they were unaware of the removal order that Roberts may have misrepresented himself as an American citizen. The school board chairman, Jackie Norris, who is, of course, shameless. New information and confirmed facts will continue to inform our decisions as we develop a path forward. What? How about we effed up? How embarrassing for us. No. Two things can be true at the same time, she continued. Dr. Roberts, doctor. Oh, the good doctor. Do we even have that confirmed? Because his academic record raised a lot of flags, too. But, who am I to quibble with Jackie Norris, the Des Moines School Board chairman? Two things can be true at the same time. Dr. Roberts was an effective and well-respected leader. And there are serious questions related to his citizenship and ability to legally perform his duties as superintendent. Indeed, there are, because, he was arrested fleeing police with cash and a gun in tow. And, of course, his certificate to be a superintendent in Iowa has now been revoked. Two things can be true. Hey, we didn't do anything wrong. He was a wonderful educator. He just happens to be a bit of a scofflaw. And let's just chalk it up to lessons learned. That's fair. Incorrigible, these people. And I can't wait to see if there is any uproar among Des Moines School District families. Any accountability. Probably about the same accountability that you see being visited upon CPS, which is to say zero. Okay. Bob in Naperville.
Yeah, I'm going back a segment a bit, stepped away for a few minutes, but, you played that Pritzker tape, and I'm telling you, it just infuriates you. My heart goes out to not only the guy who you led your show with, his tape, I saw it last night too, but, guys like Pritzker, it's what really stood out on that tape, and you didn't mention it, was his reference to identification. He called them papers. It's like Claude Rains in Casablanca, for crying out loud. Show me your papers. I mean, it's identification. It's whether he knows it or not, it's another swing back to, Hitler and Nazis and, show me your papers.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, Pritzker, the more tapes I hear of this man, I go back to a James Bond movie with that sheriff in Louisiana. Whose side are you on? It's driving people crazy, and I think the conservatives are going to start to go nuts and start killing liberals. It's crazy.
Well, thanks for the call, Bob. I certainly hope not. I don't want any of that to happen. That's exactly the wrong response. But I'll tell you what is happening is that sort of rhetoric that you heard from Pritzker. And we haven't even gotten to BLM Brandon yet. You can imagine his contributions to the conversation. But it is generating things like these stories. Illegal alien who sent vulgar racist bomb threat to female member of Congress arrested by ICE. That was in Florida. But still, you had multiple people arrested at the Broadview ICE facility, including one who threatened to kill an agent. Now, that case is complicated, I understand, the case of Paul Ivory, and I want to treat that with some nuance, but I'll get to that in a minute. There's another, a man charged in Loudoun County, Virginia, threatening to shoot a Virginia Republican lawmaker after he sent a message informing the public about a sign a woman held at an Arlington school board rally. And that sign, infamous now, this, shriveled up old leftist honky chick. Hey, Winsome Sears, Lieutenant Governor running for governor. If trans can't share your bathroom, then blacks can't share my water fountain. That was the sign she held up. Completely oblivious to her own rank ignorance, which I know is not a surprise, but that's an incredible display of it, really. So somebody takes a picture of that. Apparently, it was Virginia Republican lawmaker or delegate Gary Higgins, and then he gets a message. F off this guy's name, Gary. I will shoot you at your next public rally, then send you memes with the photos. I know where your effing kids are, too. That's the temperature out there among a certain not inconsequential slice of the new Marxist Party. Eduardo, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Dan, good morning. Well, the only people disappearing are the ones in Mexico. I watch both of the Spanish stations. I don't see any black people being rounded up. An ex-state senator says that these Latino politicians need to be out in Broadview protesting because he's not seeing them out there. So much for black and brown unity.
Thanks for the call, Eduardo. Larry in Elmhurst.
Hey, good morning. Hey, doesn't Soros vet these paid protesters that he has at these demonstrations?
Doesn't he vet them?
Yeah. I mean, he's got criminals. How many arrested that one guy have?
Yeah. Well,
another
that's part of the point. But anyway, go ahead.
Another thing too is yet he forgets he had the National Guard for the DNC convention here.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. In terms of their opposition to federal law enforcement backing the play of state and local. No, it's very particular. For their safety, yes. For the safety of their constituents, not so much.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Too often, cremated remains are kept at home, then forgotten. At Queen of Heaven Cemetery in Hillside, we have your cremation options. Come visit our new cremation garden, see our beautiful granite columbariums, or view our elegant indoor glass front niches. These offer sacred, lasting ways to honor your loved one. If cremation is your choice, our memorialization is a forever option. Give them the dignity of a permanent resting place where they'll be remembered for generations. Visit us today, CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org.
AM 560, The Answer.
There is more to discuss. We need to fold in what BLM Brandon had to say, too, when it comes to this matter of immigration, law enforcement, and more federal troops on the way to back ICE here in Chicago. And we'll do that at 6:06. Take more of your calls, too. And text 312-642-5600 is the Turnkey.pro answer and text line. It's now 6 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
They have 17 hours left. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, to approve new funding in Congress to keep the government operating.
We're headed to a shutdown because the Democrats won't do the right thing. I hope they change their mind.
Vice President Vance, after a meeting at the White House with congressional leaders in both parties that did not lead to what Republicans demand, the 7-week funding extension the House already passed.
We are not going to support a partisan Republican spending bill that continues to gut the health care of everyday Americans. Period. Full stop.
House Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries demands provisions to extend health care subsidies set to expire at the end of the year. Before that meeting, President Trump tried to broker a peace deal for Gaza.
Ending the war immediately, getting all of our hostages back.
It's a 20-point plan that would also put in place a temporary Gaza government, not run by Hamas or the Palestinian Authority. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu supports it, but if Hamas rejects the plan, he says they'll finish the job in Gaza militarily.
This can be done the easy way, or it can be done the hard way. But it will be done.
This morning, President Trump will act as commander-in-chief at a big military meeting with his war secretary.
Secretary Pete Hegseth ordered nearly all of the 1, 2, 3, and 4-star generals and admirals serving around the world to appear in person for the mandatory meeting. The Military Times reports the secretary's address will discuss a new Pentagon document that will shift the department's priorities to a focus on the homeland and Western Hemisphere.
Fox's Jennifer Griffin at the Pentagon. 2 days after a man attacked a church in Michigan, driving through the entrance, shooting worshipers, and setting the building on fire. Fox's Brooke Taylor reports from Grand Blanc.
Officials are now saying that all of those victims have thankfully been accounted for. 4 people killed and at least 8 more injured, including 2 who are in critical condition right now.
That gunman was shot and killed by police. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 65 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Governor J.B. Pritzker says he's closely monitoring the federal deployments in Chicago. Protesters clashed with the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials outside ICE's Broadview facility over the weekend, and numerous federal agents patrolled downtown Chicago as well. Meanwhile, ICE Commander Gregory Bovino announced on X the arrest of a major gang member in Chicago suburbs. Illinois U.S. Representative Mary Miller says parental rights are being diminished and it's time parents speak up. Miller's filed a proposed constitutional amendment relating to parental rights, saying that too many policies diminish what she says is the country's foundation on faith and family. Cook County homeowners can now apply for property tax relief. The Cook County Property Tax Relief Program is offering eligible homeowners $1,000 each. Now, to qualify, your income has to be at or below the Cook County area median income for your household size. That's $84,000 a year for a single person and $119,900 for a family of 4. And you must have experienced a property tax bill increase of at least 50% between 2021 and 2023. Meanwhile, Cook County officials say if your property bill went from zero to any non-zero amount the following year, you may also meet that requirement. More information available on the Cook County website. Find them at cookcounty.gov. And 2 Chicago area restaurants have been named among the best in the nation. Smith in Chicago placed number 4th on the list. It was praised for its innovative dining with a progressive farm-to-table approach. And Kasama ranked number 31, listed for its, quote, Filipino comfort food by day with an elevated tasting menu at night. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have a Blue Cross, Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP, you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Learn more and check if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the road's coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Larry Elder is not seeing any changes.
Aside from Doug Schoen, the Democrat pollster, and John Fetterman, I've not heard a major voice in the Democratic Party say, we got to stop referring to Trump and his followers as fascists, as Nazis, a tyrant, and a Hitler. We got to stop doing that.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hello, this is Alistair Begg. In September of 2026, I'll be teaching the Bible as we cruise through the Norwegian fjords. I'd love for you to join me. Call 855-565-5519 or visit deeperfaithcruise.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Living with everyday pain is like having a voice that always says, no, you can't do that. No, you better sit this one out. It's no way to live. So if pain is affecting you, see how Relief Factor can help get you back to life on your terms. One where you say yes a lot more. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor's unique formula of natural ingredients does not just mask pain, it helps reduce or eliminate it for good. Whether it's your back, neck, joints, or muscles, Relief Factor can help you, as it has for so many others. So call 1-800-4-RELIEF and give Relief Factor's 3-week quick start a try. It's only $19.95, less than $1 a day to get your life back. Just go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. And see how you can say yes to more of everything you want.
Fellow patriots, our neighbors in Manteno are under attack. Governor Pritzker handed over $536 million of your tax dollars to Goshen, a company affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party and under congressional investigation. Now Goshen wants to use toxic chemicals near family homes. But the concerned citizens of Manteno are fighting back in court, and they need our help. Join us Tuesday, October 28th at Olympia Fields Country Club for an evening with Gordon Chang, a leading expert on China's threat to America. Cocktails at 6, dinner at 7. Every dollar raised goes directly to their legal battle against the CCP-affiliated Goshen. Get your tickets now at breakthrough-ideas.com. Learn more at our Dump Goshen webpage. This is our fight, Illinois. American taxpayers shouldn't fund Communist China's expansion onto American soil. Get involved today. Breakthrough Ideas and the Coalition for a Prosperous America are sponsoring this event and standing with concerned citizens everywhere.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hodgeburg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Got a good ride in both directions on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose. It's 14 minutes. And on the Kennedy, inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange is 11 minutes. Outbound only 9 minutes. You're also in great shape on the Eisenhower in both directions. Inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office is 15 minutes. Same thing for the outbound side. And we're not seeing slowdowns on the Stevenson inbound from Tri-State to Lakeshore. That is 29 minutes. Outbound is 20 22 minutes. The Dan Ryan also looks pretty good at the moment from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 13 minutes. On the inbound side, outbound is 11 minutes. Traffic is a service of AM 560 Podcast. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be very warm with abundant sunshine reaching a high of 82. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a low of 61. Tomorrow, anticipate warm weather with sun peeking through high clouds and a high of 77. Looking ahead to Thursday, it will be very warm with a mix of sun and clouds reaching a high of 81. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft talking at the end of last hour about the presser that those buddy cops, Jelly Belly and BLM Brandon, had yesterday with their retinue of fellow Marxists. They would make a good buddy cop team in a spoof film, like a Naked Gun type of thing. Not as good as Tubbs and Crockett, Jelly Belly and Jasmine Crockett, but I think there's some potential there. So their reference to federal law enforcement officers as terrorists, as terrorizing, as cruel, as jackbooted thugs, as Nazis, all the things that they have said explicitly or intimated. And the violence that we see in the direction of federal law enforcement, the threats that are being made, as well as to politicians from these droogs on the left, that not inconsequential segment of the new Marxist Party that believes that political violence is the means to political ends and is provided cover by politicians like Pritzker and Johnson, who don't condone but don't really condemn either, because they have political interests that need to be served. So 4 people arrested at the Broadview ICE facility, outside the Broadview ICE facility. But I wanted to take up one case because this is the most serious one. The young man named Paul Ivory, who was arrested for threatening to kill ICE officers. That's no good, right? However, what we understand, I think Sean talked about it in his program yesterday. I heard from him, and I also heard from somebody else about this family of Paul Ivory's. He's a 26-year-old from Oak Park. He allegedly threatened to kill Border Patrol agents, then allegedly grabbed an agent's helmet, pulling the agent's head down as he was being arrested. So charged for that as well. But he, I believe, has a neurodivergent diagnosis. I believe that he is autistic. And one of his neighbors, Tara Guru, said it's very important for people to know that Paul Ivory is not the face of domestic terrorism in the United States. He's a young man who has faced and lived with challenges in his life. Everyone who has a chance to know Paul knows his admiration and complete infatuation with law enforcement. Another reason we are here is to advocate, because they were in court to represent him at his hearing. Another reason we're here is to advocate for his care, whether it's a counselor or someone who understands intellectual disabilities, to help him navigate the situation he is now in. Yeah, I understand that perhaps he was misled by someone or someones into believing that he was going to go from where he works in Oak Park down to Broadview in support of law enforcement and veterans. And there was, something got turned around and he allegedly did what he allegedly did. But, you have to take all these contextual factors into consideration. That's what you do when you administer a justice system. And if it's as suggested, if that checks out, then obviously we don't have a situation where somebody is responsible or intended to do the things that he did. So I'm just saying we need to at minimum need to pump the brakes on that specific case. And I just wanted to raise that before people just look at the headlines or distribute the headlines and say, we got a guy who threatened to kill ICE officers. There are plenty that are coming right up to the line who know what they're doing. But this may be a case where this young man didn't appreciate what he was doing and is thus not legally responsible. So I'm not concluding it. I'm just raising the specter of this issue. Okay. BLM Brandon. BLM Brandon was there, and he hasn't gotten the airtime that he deserves, so I want to make sure to give it to him. I know he's interested in attention, and I'm happy to give it to him just as I am his buddy, Jelly Belly. This is what he had to say about the prospect of, and think about the histrionics here. You have ICE operations. They're complaining about ICE operations in the city because they were very visible, and some of their constituents, fellow travelers, really use this as an opportunity to, wring their hands and pressure them to make yet another incendiary statement in the direction of ICE, combined with the fact that because local law enforcement is not allowed by the civilian political leadership to support or even to help protect federal law enforcement officers in the conduct of their duties, Pam Bondi is dispatching more DHS officers to provide that backup, which is eminently sensible, but still the occasion for this sort of response from BLM Brandon.
My question to these masked, heavily armed individuals is simple. What could you possibly need an automatic weapon for? The only plausible explanation is that their aim is not to carry out their duties, but instead strike fear in our communities.
What could you possibly need an automatic? Assuming that anybody was carrying an automatic weapon, I doubt it. A sport rifle? Yeah, probably. But I know those distinctions don't matter to the left or to their constituents. What could anybody need with a weapon in the execution of your duties as a federal law enforcement officer when you're dealing with identified public safety threats and in some cases national security threats? Why would anybody need a weapon? The quality of the thinking coming from the fifth floor.
If you are following the law, if you are in accordance with the Constitution, if you have a criminal warrant, then there is no reason to cover your face.
Right. Point of order. I know nobody pressed him on this. Don't want to make anybody uncomfortable. That's the Chicago Press Corps' way. What about those three crazy women who were, and I don't mean in a legal sense, I just mean in a cultural sense, that were arrested for doxing ICE agents and endangering their families? That's against the law. Yeah, 2 from California, 1 from Colorado. We talked about it yesterday. Maybe that's why. But is there anything more entertaining, sort of in a dark comedic kind of way, than listening to Pritzker and Johnson invoke the Constitution? These are great constitutional scholars and defenders of the founding principles as enshrined in our Constitution. Yeah. No, that's clearly supported by the record, isn't it? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line and text line. And then comes the non-specific accusations. This happened to some person and that happened to another person.
This is not being tough or patriotic. To throw a crying mother to the floor who just wanted to be reunited with her children, it's abominable. It's not law and order to body slam a 79-year-old business owner, an American citizen, for trying to produce the papers of his employees. And there's nothing brave about firing pepper bullets with chemical agents at a Chicago CBS reporter for simply showing up to do her job.
Yeah, ICE is mainly here, as they have said, to terrorize otherwise law-abiding citizens. That's what they do. Is that what you believe? Who believes that? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. I'll tell you, it'd be interesting if that's his standard in terms of people that are allegedly commit those kind of acts against other people. Maybe he should apply the same attention and outrage and rhetoric to these habitual criminals that are accused and convicted every single day of doing exactly what he is suggesting ICE did. And I'm not suggesting he's correct, but exactly what he's accusing ICE of doing, and of course, much worse. And again, as we've talked to personnel from ICE, from DHS, from HHS, ICE is not above the law. If there's an ICE agent that crosses the line and does something that is illegal, whether it is not having a reasonable basis to stop someone or abusing someone where that poses no imminent threat to that ICE agent's physical safety, well, that's a problem. And that ICE agent should be held responsible. And as we talked about with Chris Clem yesterday and others over the last couple of weeks, years, really, same thing. Yeah, they could have a mask over their mouth and nose, but the supervisory personnel at ICE in the enforcement and removal operations and any other division knows who's who, knows who's where. If you have a specific complaint to file for a specific allegation of wrongdoing, then file it and let's have it adjudicated and point out the ICE agent. I'm happy to report on that. This is where ICE in these fractured and divisive times, ICE needs to make sure they're coloring well inside the lines too. Need to err on the side of, to the extent it doesn't imperil their safety, err on the side of restraint. Just to expose the hypocrisy and mendacity of politicians like Pritzker and Johnson. So that everybody's clear what the choice is, and you can make your decision about who you think is making sense, who you think is representing your interests, who you think is dealing with you honestly and in good faith. Because I think what you're going to find is that it's not Johnson and Pritzker. Tony Roselle, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. I wanted to relate to you a secondhand incident. I went to a congressional fundraiser Friday, 2 guys in attendance, small crowd, and, just mingled and went to the Cubs game afterwards. And the person who sponsored the event sat behind me and told me that after I had left, a woman had wandered into the event, a local woman who didn't understand where she was or who she was with. And then they're like, oh, this is an event for so-and-so. And she said, this is secondhand, Dan. Is he a Republican? And they're like, yes. And she's like, I would have brought my gun had I known that, and stormed off. And I'm like, I quizzed her. I'm like, you serious? This happened? She's like, yeah, it was just appalling. I said, you didn't have her arrested? This is, and the event was, I did not know the location of the event because a friend gave me his tickets in Essentia, and I didn't get the location of the event until 9:30 a.m. And I asked her, she's like, oh no, we don't list the address. We don't tell people where it's going to be. We get a list of attendees and check them out, and then we tell you where to go because we just can't afford to advertise anymore where these events are being held.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Tony. I mean, there is a sickness, again, if I may borrow a Brandon Johnsonism, within the new Marxist Party. There's a sickness. There are people that are wired to see violence as the means to political ends because Trump, ICE represent existential threats to the Republic, and they're going to save the Republic by killing people they don't like, by attacking people they disagree with. I mean, I would think that it has become pretty obvious, given the incidents of violence of late, But just in case you're still unpersuaded, this was a guy who went and did essentially man on the street interviews at a recent anti-Trump rally.
I don't want to be a violent person, but in this case, I feel like that we just need to, I hate to say the word, but assassinate him.
What was your reaction this July when the assassin almost got Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania?
I was happy.
Happy that he missed, or happy that it happened?
No, happy that it happened. And too bad that it wasn't in the head.
What was your reaction in July when an assassin came an inch away from ending Trump?
Disappointment that they didn't follow through. They missed.
That shot.
Yeah.
I thought, oh my God. It could have been wonderful.
If he'd been shot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can sum it up in one word.
Drad that it happened or drad that it missed?
Drad that it missed. I won't lie. I do not support violence in any way.
But
I think I'm going to let you finish it, Charles.
Well,
Go ahead.
I'm so shy and reserved. My thought was, if he'd had a good scope instead of a red dot, we would not be going through this. I consider that kid to be a hero. But that was an act of a patriot as far as I'm concerned.
you heard that last part. I consider that kid who tried to assassinate Trump to be a hero. I mean, there was multiple middle to senior aged honkies. And then there was a couple of young honkies, too. Openly calling for Trump's assassination, openly lamenting that he wasn't killed in Butler, Pennsylvania. And if you think that their penchant for the blood of those with whom they disagree is limited to Trump, then you're mistaken. So we're supposed to unify with that element of society? We need to come together with them? What does that look like? Matt, Birmingham, Alabama.
Good morning, Dan. Early in August, I was setting up a trade show down at McCormick Place on a Sunday, and drove up from Birmingham, Alabama, where I now live. Got the hell out of Illinois, and sitting there pulling stuff out of the samples with my agents. There's a group there with Antifa Palestinian scars staying at the Hyatt Hotel at McCormick. Guess who owns a Hyatt, right? Mm-hmm. I'm like, how can they even afford that place? Mm-hmm. The trade shows are going for $500 a room. So this guy's walking around built like a linebacker, probably in his late 30s, long hair, transgendered, with brass knuckles on, laced brass knuckle gloves. I'm sitting here, I can't even bring my concealed carry into the state. And yet this guy, who's about 5'10", about 185 pounds, is walking around with laced gloves and brass knuckles. How is that even legal? And yet here we are.
Thanks for the call, Matt. Corey in Woodlawn.
Hey, thanks for taking the call, Dan. They shouldn't be here. This shouldn't be needed, these ICE agents. But the last administration let in millions of people into the interior of the country. And there is not an effort on the part of the governor of this state, nor Brandon Johnson, to get rid of them. They're using these individuals as a prop. They've already wasted billions of dollars in COVID on trying to take care of them. But I think that money went to their friends, paying money for people that own vacant lots to put up tents. This is all just a ruse to take people's money. And they'll do whatever they can to keep these ghettos going for as long as they can, because it's a voting block to them. Whatever they can do to fleece the taxpayers. I'm glad Trump is here, but this shouldn't be needed. But somebody's got to look out for the Republic.
Agreed.
Thanks.
100%. Thanks for the call, Corey. So I was always resistant to previous calls for the National Guard, regardless of who is president, is we should be able to take care of our own business. And if we have a political leadership that is incapable of taking care of our own business, starting with providing for the safety of their constituents in Chicago and Cook County at the state level, then we should switch them out for people who are serious, right? It doesn't seem like that's complicated, but it's turned out to be quite complicated in practice, hasn't it? Yeah. Jeff Landry, he's the governor of Louisiana, Republican. He's taking the opposite approach. He's not afraid to ask for and accept help when it comes to reducing the violent crime on the streets of places like New Orleans and Baton Rouge.
Tonight, we're sending the Department of War a request to send the National Guard, asking them to deploy the National Guard here in Louisiana into our cities like New Orleans and Baton Rouge and others, so we can continue to reduce the amount of violence on our streets. Why would you not want your citizens to be safe?
Yeah, why indeed? Oh, I know. Because they got this. Clearly. JB and BJ got this. Who believes that? One other piece of coverage here I wanted to direct people's attention to. The People's Patrol. This from your state-run, state-funded media, NPR. Dems are about to try to shut down the government to get NPR back some of its money. CBP, Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and NPR. And gosh, I'd hate to lose a quality show like Wilmette Talking to Winnetka. Standing up to ICE in suburban Chicago, the People's Patrol puts its faith in resistance. Cristobal Cavazos gets a call from a People's Patrol volunteer at an industrial park near O'Hare, where thousands of undocumented immigrants work in warehouses and manufacturing and food processing plants. The volunteer tells Cavazos she's watching agents who might be from ICE. Cavazos rushes to his car. He opens the hatch and packs in 5-gallon buckets and drumsticks to pound on them and bullhorns. He invites this reporter to ride along. Of course he does. Hey, grab a drumstick and a pickle bucket. Bensonville, the village that includes the industrial park, has been a hotbed of ICE activity since Trump came in, says Cavazos. The People's Patrol is one of many volunteer rapid response networks countering a Trump administration deportation blitz in the Chicago area. The idea is to locate immigration enforcement activity, record it, document abuses, that's assumed, of course, and then right on the spot, voice community opposition, thus the pickle buckets and the drumsticks and the bullhorns. This is Cavazos. We saw ICE go into a factory about a month and a half ago looking for someone. They freaked out the whole factory and they took some people from there. It's just really sad the way the United States crucifies its immigrant workers, particularly in this case. They're essential workers that are in these factories giving us food. Crucifies immigrant workers. Really? They were nailed to a cross? Simple concept that an adult should be able to assimilate. Buddy, it's not your call. It's not their call. You don't get to dictate the terms upon which you come into this country. And whether you're providing value at a business or not, you don't get to dictate the terms to your employer, and your employer doesn't get to dictate the terms to our government or to the larger society as to which laws they'll follow and which laws they won't when it comes to hiring decisions. Essential workers this and providing our food that. Right, because without you, it wouldn't happen. I doubt it. I doubt that's the case. I doubt there would be mass starvation in America without people in this country legally working at food processing plants. That's not to say that I'm not open-minded to lawful guest worker programs and so on and so forth. But again, the People's Patrol and the Resistance have made intelligent conversations along those lines impossible because of statements like this. They're essential workers giving us food. That's your view, People's Patrol boy. Not your call. You see the difference? Phil in Norridge.
Yeah, well, divorce has a lot to do with this, but I'll tell you, what the problem is with this lower generation? They're heroes. All their heroes are transgenders.
Thanks for the call, Phil. Coming up at 6:36. All right, we'll turn our attention to the big announcement yesterday when Israeli PM Bibi Netanyahu was at the White House with President Trump, that they are moving closer to a Middle East peace agreement. We'll get Jonathan Tobin's reaction to the broad outlines of that agreement at 6:36. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 63 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Joliet police say a man shot and killed his wife before he turned the gun on himself. Authorities say the shooting took place early yesterday morning. Neighbors saying they heard arguing before hearing shots fired. Illinois Representative Mary Miller says parental rights are being diminished and it's time parents speak up. Miller's filed a proposed constitutional amendment relating to parental rights, saying that too many policies diminish the country's foundation on faith and family. And Cook County homeowners can now apply for property tax relief. The Cook County Property Tax Relief Program is offering eligible homeowners $1,000 each. Now, to qualify, your income has to be at or below the Cook County area median income limit for your household size, and you must have experienced a property tax bill increase of at least 50% between 2021 and 2023. More information is available on the Cook County website. Find them at cookcountyil.gov. News is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Learn more and check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Join AM 560 on Thursday, October 2nd in Glen Ellen for a conservative conversation, an evening of insight, inspiration, and ideas on how conservatives can unite around shared values to advance a common agenda. Speakers will include Pastor Lorenzo Sewell of 180 Church in Detroit, Jeannie Ives, and John Anthony, with each bringing a unique perspective on faith, policy, and community leadership. Get your tickets today at 560theanswer.com/conversation. That's 560theanswer.com/conversation.
Hey Chicagoland, your trusted friend Jeff here from JeffBuysYourHouse.com. Over the past few months, I've shared how our veteran-led team serves Chicagoland homeowners. Today, I want to share with you what your neighbors are saying about working with us. Like Mary in Downers Grove, who wrote, "They listened to my concerns about moving from my home of 30 years and created a timeline that worked for me." Or Tom and Carol Stream, who said, "Their team helped me sort through 40 years of memories with respect and patience." This is why hundreds of your neighbors have given us a 5-star Google review and an A+ rating with the BBB. We don't just buy houses. We help people through life's transitions with understanding and care. No repairs needed, no cleanout required, and always on your timeline. Ready to work with the home buying team your neighbors trust? Sell your house to the trusted source by calling us at 630-895-9530. That's 630-895-9530 or jeffbuysyourhouse.com.
Wealth Health Radio. The biggest fears that people have is, do I have enough money to retire? Retirement doesn't have to be complicated. But make sure that you're going through retirement with confidence. Learn principles of income planning. There's a lot of different facets that you need to take into consideration when you're retiring. Tune into Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, noon to 1 p.m. Sundays on AM 560, The Answer.
For decades, Dennis Prager shared his wisdom with listeners around the world through his lectures, courses, interviews, and debates. Now, for the first time, the collective wisdom of Dennis Prager is being made available as a podcast. Listen to Timeless Wisdom with Dennis Prager, with new episodes released for a limited time only as a podcast. Subscribe for free today at DennisPrager.com. That's Timeless Wisdom with Dennis Prager, exclusively at DennisPrager.com.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. Available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. The Eden looks good both ways. It's 14 minutes from Lake Cook to Montrose. The Kennedy getting slow inbound from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, 17 minutes. Outbound is 9. The Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office is 21 minutes. Outbound is 15. The Stevenson inbound from Tri-State to Lakeshore is 32 minutes. Outbound is 22. And the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne Interchange is 15. Outbound is 11. Stop and go delays on the Bishop Ford due to a car fire taking down 3 lanes on the westbound side at Bussey Road. Stop and go from Elmhurst Road. This report is sponsored by the Harlem Globetrotters. This isn't just a game, it's a once-in-a-generation event. The Harlem Globetrotters 100-year tour. Come be part of a legacy that never stops. Be there when history is made. The Harlem Globetrotters 100-year tour. Get your tickets today at harlemglobetrotters.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be very warm with abundant sunshine and a high of 82. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a low of 61. Tomorrow will be warm with sun peeking through high clouds, reaching a high of 77. By Thursday, it will be very warm with a mix of sun and clouds and a high of 81. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Yesterday, Bibi Netanyahu visiting the White House to talk Middle East peace with President Trump. And at their joint press availability, the president had this to say.
Everything getting solved. It's called peace in the Middle East. And let's call it eternal peace in the Middle East. So this is far more than anybody expected, but the level of support that I've had from the nations in the Middle East and surrounding Israel and neighbors of Israel has been incredible, incredible. Every single one of them. Europe has been very much involved, and as I was called by many of the European leaders, most of them saying, is this true? Are you really doing peace in the Middle East? This is the most incredible thing we've heard. Some think it's the biggest thing they've ever heard. They called just to find out, was it just a rumor or is it actually done?
He also thanked Netanyahu for his constructive engagement.
I also want to thank Prime Minister Netanyahu for agreeing to the plan and for trusting that if we work together, we can bring an end to the death and destruction that we've seen for so many years, decades, even centuries, and begin a new chapter of security, peace, and prosperity for the entire region.
And there is a lot of regional buy-in, reportedly. Qatar, Jordan, UAE, Indonesia, Pakistan, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, all welcoming Trump's 20-point plan to end the war in Gaza and try to establish a lasting peace in that region, although I'm a lot more skeptical than Trump is. I'm not ready to sign on to the prospect that what we're talking about here is in this 20-point plan is going to generate quote unquote eternal peace. That may be a bit grandiose, particularly against the backdrop of something else that bubbled to the surface. ArabCon 2025, ArabCon 2025. This is Arabic people getting together to advance their, political and cultural dialogue. That's the basic description that I read online of this conference. They had a panel discussion with ostensibly some Arab American leaders. And on the topic of October 7th, this was how the moderator and the panel tackle that question of the terrorist attack on October 7th.
We sometimes get uncomfortable talking about October 7th, and as Americans. But how much of that is sort of directly from the, magnitude of that it just created this question asking more than anything ever else has before. And are you seeing your colleagues feeling more empowered to say things, probably because of your steadfastness over all these years? And then finally, do you condemn October 7th?
I condemn Israel and the United States and all oppressions and imperial wars.
That's what I'm talking about.
Very good. That was an easy answer.
And I never ever condemn Palestinian resistance and anyone resistance around the world. Those who are here and who are around the world, write it up.
That's right.
Okay, so anyway, move on to the next question.
Condemning a terrorist attack is a punchline at ArabCon 2025. I assume that view is not limited to Arab Americans, and it includes many in the Middle East living in Islamic theocracies, many in the Middle East formerly living in Gaza, I suspect. For more on all this, we're pleased to be joined by Jonathan Tobin, editor-in-chief of the Jewish News Syndicate. Jonathan, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Great to be with you.
So the 20-point plan, what is your assessment?
Well, like you, I'm a bit skeptical about President Trump's hyperbole. But if it worked, it would be a good thing. It would require Hamas to surrender and disarm and give up control of Gaza. It would mean the immediate freedom for the hostages, and it would put in place, a structure that would allow the Palestinians in Gaza to sort of create a normal life for themselves. The problem with that is not President Trump's intentions here. They're obviously good. And but the thing is, this is just the latest. This isn't something new. This has been tried in various forms for the last 80, really 100 years to give the Palestinians a chance to choose peace. And they have said no every single time, not because the offers weren't generous enough or because people didn't trust each other. It was because their national identity is inextricably tied up with this century-old war against the Jews and their belief that they have the right to do anything, commit any atrocity, like that clip that you just played, in order to throw the Jews out of their own homeland and kill as many of them as possible. So in order for us to believe this is going to work, which if it did, let me specify that would be good, you have to believe that we're on the edge of a sea change, a change in Palestinian political culture. You have to believe that there is a mythical body of non-political Palestinian technocrats available to run Gaza who are not tainted by a belief in Israel's destruction and in terrorism. You'd have to believe the international community and the United Nations will adopt policies to advance the cause of peace rather than enabling the perpetuation of this century-old war. You have to believe that this board of peace that Trump is going to chair and that Tony Blair will be part of will have the will and the ability to supervise what will go on in Gaza, that this international security force will secure Gaza and make sure Hamas does disarm, and you have to believe that Qatar, which is the primary funder of Hamas and of Islamist extremism around the world, which is part of the Muslim Brotherhood, and the whole push for Sharia law and, hatred of the West, let alone Israel, you have to believe that Qatar is a good partner, as Trump foolishly believes, and a partner for peace. That's an enormous leap of faith. That's a lot of ifs.
That's a lot to sign on to.
Hooray!
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. So why is Bibi signing on to it? I mean, he just gave a speech at the UN last week in which he said something that is not new either, but remains true, which is the problem with all of these Western European countries promoting a two-state solution is that the Palestinians don't want one. It's not that we don't, it's that the Palestinians don't, because they want the elimination of Israel. That's always been the problem, and it still is the problem. And if it's still the problem, and all we need to do, then the idea that all we need to do is get these countries in the region to agree that I mentioned, and Hamas to sign on, which is sort of a grotesque aspect of this as well, then why even go through this charade if you're Bibi?
Well, first, he was certainly right to defy the world and defy the UN when he spoke, because Trump was right to basically flip off the UN when he spoke there last week.
Right.
The reason why he's going on along with it, well, it's pretty clear. I mean, Trump is the most pro-Israel president we've ever had. He's earned some trust. And he also has a lot of leverage over Israel. Yeah. And so Netanyahu is really not in a position to say, prove it, buddy. Why should I do? Your plan is really dumb. The people you're trusting don't deserve to be trusted. He's got to go along with it. He's got to give it a chance to fail, like so many other peace plans have failed because the Palestinians, there's a famous quote where, the late Abba Eban, who was a longtime Israeli foreign minister and diplomat, said that the Palestinians never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity. That was very clever, but it was also kind of wrong, because the Palestinians didn't view any of those offers of statehood and peace and two states and coexistence as opportunities, because they're not for anything. They don't think peace should involve the existence of a Jewish state, no matter where its borders are drawn. So, but, Netanyahu is giving Trump a chance to fail. You think this can work? Fine. And Trump, has not only earned some trust from Israel for all the stuff he's done while he was president, which he has explicitly said that he will do what no previous American president who produced a peace plan promised to do or ever did, which is to say, if and when, and I think it's more a matter of when than if, the Palestinians and Hamas renege on this plan, even if they agree to it, when they break their word, as Arafat did in the 90s when Clinton, promoted the Oslo peace process. Yeah. Trump is ready to say, Netanyahu, finish the job. I'm not going to give them any leeway to lie and prevaricate. If they don't do everything I say they have to do, all bets are off, and Israel goes back in and wipes them out. That gives Trump that not only is the right thing to do, it gives Trump the ability to say to Netanyahu, you should trust me. And Netanyahu wants to trust Trump, even though I can tell you he doesn't believe this is going to work any more than you or I does.
Well, but the other problem, right, is that these malign forces, these terrorist organizations, can wait Trump out, and when Trump goes away, we'll see what comes after President Trump in 2028. But we can wait, and how many? What was it, like 40% of the UN General Assembly walked out of Benjamin Netanyahu's speech. So between Western Europe and Islamic theocracies, they still have a network that they can potentially resuscitate, both a formal network that supports them as well as appeasers like the Western Europeans. They still have that they can lean on to restart this in 3 years, 4 years.
Yeah, you're absolutely right that the long war of the Islamists against Israel, as well as their long war against the West and the United States, is not ending here. Trump may think he's creating eternal peace, and God bless him for wanting to create eternal peace. And, we should all pray that, it all happens and the hostages are released and Hamas disarms. And you're right. 3 years from now, 4 years from now, there's still going to be a conflict. We're still going to be talking. If we should all have, as my mother would have said, we should all live and be well, and we'll still be talking about the same stuff in some ways. But this deal will prove to work or not work long before that. This deal, we'll know whether this deal works by the end of the year. There's no question about that. Either the hostages get released and Hamas disarms, or they don't. Mm-hmm. And that's, Netanyahu Netanyahu probably thinks he's going to still be prime minister of Israel 4 years from now, because, as I like to, it's not just that he hasn't groomed a successor. He doesn't believe in the concept, and they have no term limits in Israel. But he'd probably despite his critics, he may well win the next election anyway. But the point is, this deal, it's deal or no deal, like the game show. We're going to find out long before J.D. Vance is hoping to win the 2028 presidential election. This is going to happen very, very soon, and I believe we can trust Trump that far. I don't trust Trump's judgment about Qatar. I think he's foolish. Some of his people like Witkoff have been compromised by their business dealings with them, but I trust Trump well enough that he will know whether Hamas is going to agree to this and whether they immediately, and that's the good part about the plan, the part that's not stupid, is he says the hostages have to be released immediately. Hamas has to disarm right away. It's not in 5 years. That we'll know about. So I have confidence that if this is going to fail, and it's, as I said, it's more likely to be a when rather than an if, we'll know, and Trump will back Israel. Just because, once again, if it doesn't work, once again, the Palestinians will have rejected peace. And if anything, if we know anything about Donald Trump, he won't forgive them for that.
Jonathan Tobin, editor-in-chief of Jewish News Syndicate. Jonathan, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Jonathan Tobin joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
When the power goes out, life stops. Heat, AC, fridge, phones, all gone. But with a Generac home standby generator from True Power Generator Service, your home powers back on automatically, so you're never left in the dark. Book your consultation today at TruePowerGenerator.com. That's TruePowerGenerator.com. Plus, 560 listeners get a free 10-year extended warranty. Terms and conditions apply. Call for details. True Power Generator Service and Generac. It's not just a generator, it's a power move.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for. For this free information, call 800-422-1609, 800-422-1609, 800-422-1609, or simply visit godra.com.
The Dinesh D'Souza Podcast.
This is the important thing to recognize about Trump is he's a very transactional guy. Trump will impose a penalty, and if you come to him and say, well, let's make a deal. This is the actual opposite of socialism. This is called cutting a deal to make something work. And I think that's all that goes through Trump's mind.
Subscribe to the Dinesh D'Souza Podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com. AM 560, The Answer.
That sound means it's time for In-Depth History with Frank, the history teacher from Arlington Heights. Because there's nothing new in this world, just the history you don't know, and Frank does. Frank, take it away.
Good morning. In the film The Godfather Part 2, 11-year-old Vito Andolini arrives in 1901 at Ellis Island, and along with other immigrants, holds the Statue of Liberty in the background. The film is a bit off here, though, as the copper color was still dominant back then, as it took nearly 30 years for it to oxidize into its current protective green color. Originally designed and built in France.
3-minute stations, 3 minutes away.
Country's centennial, the statue was taken apart, shipped over, and reassembled here on Liberty Island in 1886. Only about 2.5 millimeters thick, Lady Liberty was originally designed to wear a Smurf-like Phrygian cap and be carrying a broken chain in her left hand. Political wrangling led to its current form, wearing a crown with 7 points radiating out freedom to all the continents. But if you go up there today, you can look down and see a remnant of this chain at her feet. Emma Lazarus's sonnet, The New Colossus, written earlier, was added to the statue's base in 1903. Give me your tired, your poor, huddled masses yearning to breathe free, because many of them are the descendants of soldiers your government left behind in its pursuit of empire, is the most famous line. Okay, the last half is not really a part of the poem, but I grew up with Rambo 2 and Missing in Action movies with Stallone and Chuck Norris rescuing MIAs left behind in Vietnam. Lesser known, though, is the roughly 15,000 American troops in German POW camps captured by the Soviets at the end of World War II that were never recovered. Most of them likely died in the gulags, but some were forced to live their lives in the USSR. President Eisenhower was at least honest and recognized some were never returned, but didn't want to start World War III over it. From today's government, though, I'd expect something more like what Michael Corleone, son of Vito, said to the Senate regarding his potential involvement in a series of mob murders. It's a complete falsehood.
Very good, Frank. Sorry for that interruption. Yeah. Did you know that when the boogeyman goes to sleep at night, he checks his closet for Chuck Norris?
I would believe that.
Yeah.
I mean, Chuck Norris is 88, and he's still going strong?
Yeah. Chuck Norris can strangle you with a cordless phone.
He could.
I've got a million Chuck Norrisisms. I love that whole series of the Chuck Norris.
I'd be afraid of him saying, like the line of the Vietnamese commander at the camp, of Chuck Norris saying to you at the end, "You lose."
You mentioned Stallone too, but by chance, are you watching Tulsa King?
I am not. I saw that on the the internet. You have to get Paramount for that, but looks interesting. What's interesting? But Stallone though, he's so short. I watched First Blood a couple months ago.
Yeah, very short.
Very short guy.
Yeah, he is. The Tulsa King. I can't. I'd like to recommend it. The first season was sort of like a guilty pleasure. It was sort of entertaining. It's the ensemble cast with like Dana Delaney. Adds some layers to it, but the second season is just a couple episodes in. It's rough. It's really rough. So I know you're a big fan, so I just wanted to apprise you of that. Thank you as always, Frank. Appreciate it. Very good. Coming up at 7:07, we'll talk to Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson. He has a plan to end government shutdowns forever, but I don't know if it'll be enacted in time to end the one coming up today. It's now 7 o'clock, AM 560, WIND Chicago.
The Commander-in-Chief will soon meet with generals and admirals. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, at a big military meeting this morning at the Marine Base in Quantico, Virginia, with commanders who flew in from around the world. It's led by Secretary of War Pete Hegseth.
These orders came down last week for those ranked 1 star and above to meet with Secretary Hegseth this week. Now, the original invitation, it did not cite a reason. So, of course, that fueled some speculation, mainly surrounding the pledge that Secretary Hegseth made to make cuts to the General Officer Corps. Then came the announcement that President Trump would be attending today. And he told NBC that this meeting is celebratory. He said, quote, "It's just really a very nice meeting, talking about how well we're doing militarily."
Fox's Alexandria Hoff at the White House, where yesterday President Trump laid out a peace plan to stop the war in Gaza.
If accepted by Hamas, this proposal calls for the release of all remaining hostages.
Hamas is reviewing the plan that many Arab leaders support. So does Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who gave his okay at a White House meeting. But if Hamas rejects it,
as you know, Bibi, you'd have our full backing to do what you would have to do.
Netanyahu says Israel would finish the job, continuing the war. President Trump also met with congressional leaders in both parties, trying to work out a deal to fund the government by tonight to prevent a shutdown tomorrow.
The government shuts down. It's because Republicans have decided to shut the government down and hurt the American people.
That's House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries pushing for provisions to extend health care subsidies. But GOP Congressman Brad Knott tells Fox all they want is a 7-week funding extension.
We on the Republican side just are not budging. And until they get back to, I would say, reasonable ground, there's really not a lot to discuss there.
A Ukrainian man's been arrested in Poland, suspected of being involved in underseas explosions damaging Nord Stream gas pipelines between Germany and Russia after Russia's war in Ukraine had started. In Indonesia, rescuers keep trying to get to dozens of students trapped after their school collapsed. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 63 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Looking at partly cloudy skies today, a chance for scattered afternoon thunderstorms, highs today topping out around 73 degrees. An investigation is open in Illinois after a reporter's car has been hit by a pepper ball outside an ICE facility. Fox's Jeff Manasso reports from Chicago.
Village of Broadview police say they've launched a criminal investigation after a CBS Chicago reporter claims that she had a pepper ball fired at her vehicle that she parked outside an ICE detention facility. The the site of chaos and violence in recent days in protests over mass deportation policies. The reporter saying she wasn't hurt, though police say they expect full cooperation by the Department of Homeland Security. And as ICE and border agents expand patrols across Chicago, they say with a job to do. Protesters say they're not backing down. In Chicago, Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
Cook County homeowners can apply for property tax relief. Cook County Property Tax Relief Program is offering eligible homeowners $1,000 each. Now, to qualify, your income has to be at or below the Cook County area median income for your household size. That's $84,000 for a single person and $119,900 a year for a family up to 4. You also must have experienced a property tax bill increase of at least 50% between 2021 and 2023. Cook County officials say if your property bill went from zero to any non-zero amount the following year, you also meet that requirement. More information, you can find it on the Cook County website at cookcountyil.gov. News as a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have a Blue Cross, Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP, you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Learn more and check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Scott Jennings says we may see a shutdown.
There's no real wiggle room here for House Speaker Mike Johnson. Can't afford many defections, and the measure will need 60 votes in the Senate. Democratic leaders Schumer and Jeffries already saying they will not support this 7-week deal. Are we headed for a government shutdown in 2 weeks? Seems possible.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at 1, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Living with everyday pain is like having a voice that always says, no, you can't do that. No, you better sit this one out. It's no way to live. So if pain is affecting you, see how Relief Factor can help get you back to life on your terms. One where you say yes a lot more. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor's unique formula of natural ingredients does not just mask pain, it helps reduce or eliminate it for good. Whether it's your back, neck, joints, or muscles, Relief Factor can help you, as it has for so many others. So call 1-800-4RELIEF and give Relief Factor's 3-week quick start a try. It's only $19.95, less than $1 a day to get your life back. Just go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. And see how you can say yes to more of everything you want.
Are you tired of exposing your retirement to stock market risk? How would you like the potential to participate in credited interest from market indexed returns and limit the downside? Join Mark Kohler for the Retirement and Income Radio Show, Sunday afternoons at 3. You can also call Mark now for your complimentary customized Retirement and Income Kit and Retirement and Income Book at 844-619-SAFE. Mark Kohler, protecting wealth since 1990. That's 844-619-7233.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Anthony and John here from Bionic Auto Parts, proud clients of Signature Bank. We deliver high-quality, recycled and remanufactured auto parts to Chicago and Milwaukee. Our mission is simple: provide parts safely, reliably, with great customer satisfaction.
We process over 350 vehicles a month. With big banks, everything took forever. Layers of approvals and endless delays. At Signature Bank, one call got it done. Whether it's lending, deposits, or treasury management, they deliver fast. Signature Bank made us feel like family. That's a partnership we deeply appreciate.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hodgeburg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Inbound on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose, getting a little bit slow, 21 minutes. Outbound is 14. The Kennedy inbound, real slow from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 24 minutes. Outbound is 14. You got a big slowdown on the Eisenhower as well. Inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, that is 33 minutes. Outbound is 23, but slammed on the inbound Eden from Tri-State to Lakeshore, 47 minutes. Outbound is 30. The Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange is 21 minutes. minutes. Outbound is 11. And on the outbound side of the Jane Addams, 2 right lanes are closed with a car fire at Bussey Road. Stop and go from Elmhurst Road. And then watch out for an accident on the Tri-State southbound at East St. Charles Road. The right lane is blocked. Traffic is a service of Fox Valley Coins. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be very warm with abundant sunshine and a high of 82. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a low of 61. Tomorrow will be warm with sun peeking through high clouds, reaching a high of 77. By Thursday, it will be very warm with a mix of sun and clouds and a high of 81. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Government shutdown theater is playing again. Although this time there is a little bit less theater and a little bit more substance to it in the sense that Russ Vought has suggested that permanent layoffs could result in a temporary government shutdown. John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, was asked about the prospects of said shutdown by Brett Baer, and he said this.
Well, I mean, it's up to them. And I don't know.
Above 50%.
Well, if the Democrats are coming out and saying flatly, we will vote repeatedly, and they will have to because we will force them to vote because the bill is sitting in the Senate to keep the government or to shut the government down, not to fund the government. It's up to them. The ball is in their court, and this is politics for them, nothing more, nothing less.
Mm-hmm. So they're going to be the votes because Thune's going to push them. House has already passed the CR. But what John Thune said sort of gives lie to what Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader, said. Imagine that, Hakeem Jeffries not telling the truth. I'm stunned. Here's what he had to say. It's just trying to protect the health care for Americans. That's not really true. And the Senate has abdicated. And as you just heard from Senate Majority Leader Thune, that's not true either.
In the conversation, we've made clear that the Republicans have a position, and that position is that they're uninterested in addressing the health care needs of the American people, and that our position with respect to the Affordable Care Act tax credits is a permanent extension. And we're waiting to hear back from Republicans after that meeting as to whether they are willing to actually sit down over the next 30 hours or so and find a bipartisan path forward. House Republicans are on vacation right now. House Democrats are here, ready to do the work of the American people. Senate Democrats and even Senate Republicans are here in the Capitol. And it appears, at least to me, that a decision has been made by House Republican leaders, perhaps blessed by the administration, to shut the government down. Why did they cancel votes? Why are they on vacation spread out across the country and the world when we're on the brink of a government shutdown?
So leadership. Well, I guess he was talking about the House, so my mistake there. But well, the answer to that is pretty simple, because the House already passed a continuing resolution. And now the Senate is going to give Senate Democrats the same opportunity that you chose to pass on. And what are we talking about, really? Is it about health care for the American people? Not exactly. Speaker Johnson, not on vacation, had this to say.
And they want to give new benefits to illegal aliens. We eliminated that in our big, beautiful bill. They want to bring it back. They want to prop up NPR and PBS. They want $500 million. That's their demand in their counteroffer, to prop up the Corporation for Public Broadcasting again. We're not doing that. Left-leaning media outlets don't need to be funded by taxpayers. They want to spend $1.5 trillion on a simple 7-week stopgap funding measure so our appropriators can get back to the job of just funding the government. And it's really a crazy thing to watch.
For more on this, pleased to be joined by Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson, Republican, of course. Senator Johnson, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Morning, Dan. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, you too. So what do you anticipate occurs by, the stroke of midnight tonight?
Well, I think Speaker Johnson made the main point there. The Democrats' opening offer was, okay, we'll keep the government open. Initially, it's 4 weeks. Now I guess they're saying 7 weeks. And all we're asking in exchange is just spend another $1.5 trillion when we're $37 trillion. So that's reasonable. Now they seem to be backtracking, saying all they're really concerned about is let's make sure that these Obamacare enhanced subsidies, temporary because of COVID, let's make those permanent. When they had a multiple number of chances, when they were in the majority, to make those permanent. They didn't. Again, this was temporary. And the problem with that, Dan, is those temporary COVID Obamacare subsidy enhancements, that took many millions of people on the individual exchanges completely from participating with any dollars in these changes. So we've got now 20.5 million people on the Obamacare exchanges. 12 million of them never made a claim. Now, that's not completely unusual that people have insurance and don't make a claim because they're healthy, but 12 million out of 20.5, I've seen estimates thinking that at least 6 million of these people don't even know they have insurance because it's been documented. They're unscrupulous agents and brokers who are signing people up because all they need is a name and a birth date.
Yeah.
They're collecting commission. The insurance companies get tens of billions of dollars paid into their company for policies that people don't even know they have. So this is a massive level of fraud. And you see exactly how it happens. Is, again, Democrats temporarily gave a COVID relief enhancement, took people from participating in the Obamacare. So there's no skin in the game. There's no control of the process, and nobody is controlling the process. So if you want to extend these temporary COVID enhancements, you want to perpetuate that massive fraud. American taxpayers paying tens of millions of dollars per year into insurance companies for policies people don't even know they have. That's what Democrats want us to do.
Well, and of course, we know this this at the state level with a combined state and federal program called Medicaid, of which you're obviously familiar. The same things. You always have Democrats impeding an auditing of the Medicaid rolls at the state level, and states like Illinois, we're very familiar, because they don't want anybody removed who shouldn't be on the rolls because, dependency provides political support. I mean, I can only assume, because otherwise, why would you want somebody to access a benefit they're not entitled to and imperil the quality of the benefit, that same benefit, for someone who is entitled to it, which is exactly what happens.
By the way, what's most galling about this is the reason insurance costs so much on the individual exchanges is because the faulty design of Obamacare. So we all wanted to cover people with pre-existing conditions. We had state high-risk pools. They worked. Could have been tweaked a little bit, and we could have covered everybody with pre-existing conditions with a small, unnoticeable percentage on everybody's insurance policy. That's how high-risk pools were originally funded. They got rid of those. They changed it now. So then Obamacare exchanges doubled, tripled, quadrupled the cost of insurance on these individual exchanges because they made those individuals. Back then, it was 5 million people is how many people originally signed up for those Obamacare exchanges. They had to carry the full cost burden of covering people with pre-existing conditions. Prior to the pandemic, there were about 9 million people on these exchanges. With the enhanced subsidies, all of a sudden that shot from 9 million to over 20 million. And again, 12 million never even made claims. How many of those didn't even know they have policies? So, I mean, those are the facts, and Democrats don't like facts.
And and it just going back to the larger issue of these quote unquote shutdowns, which we've all become relatively inured to. I mean, part of the reason that both sides have done it, but really more so the Democrats, is because it provides another bite at the apple to spend beyond our means. That was sort of what you were intimating earlier. And you introduced legislation to address that. That's sort of elegant in its simplicity, and I wanted to give you a chance to explain it.
Yeah, last night we voted. Unfortunately, got voted down with Republican appropriators also voting no. But a simple bill, Eliminate Shutdowns Act. And all it would have done is that for any department or all of government that doesn't have an appropriation made for it, it just creates a 14-day rolling continuing appropriation. There's no drama, no turmoil. It gives appropriators, as much time as they need to find areas of agreement, pass the appropriations. Do it, before the end of the fiscal year, 2 weeks in, 4 weeks in, whatever. It doesn't diminish the appropriator power, but it takes away the pressure that is created by the uniparty, prior to Thanksgiving break or Christmas break to just pass something and get out of town and go home, right? And that's one of the reasons we've gone from $14 trillion to $37 trillion in debt since I arrived in 2011. By the way, it doesn't work in terms of passing appropriation bills. In the 15 years I've been here, we should have passed 180 appropriation bills. We've passed 6 prior to the end of the fiscal year. 6. That's a 96.7% failure rate. And the appropriators are defending that. So, again, unfortunately, we had even Republican appropriators vote no, basically voting yes to continue the chaos and continue the political gamesmanship with people's lives. It's literally disgusting. I can't tell you how PO'd I am this morning that even Republican appropriators joined every Democrat in voting down a bill that would have eliminated shutdowns for all time. We'd never have this conversation. We'd never have to do an interview like this before. We'd do an interview on more productive things.
Well, this is the endemic problem, right? Is very few people, yourself, Rand Paul, Mike Lee, you can name them almost on one hand, maybe two hands at the most, members of Congress are really serious about reducing the size and scope of government. And if more people were serious, including the president, frankly, we'd be having the conversation that Milei started his administration with in Argentina, which is what are the things that government should be doing and what are the things it shouldn't be doing or it's shown itself to be completely incompetent in doing. And we're going to really pare back what the government does to the things that are core deliverables. And the things that are not core deliverables or it's not best positioned to deliver, we're not going to do anymore and have that sort of philosophical conversation that drives to some specific sizable elimination of a reduction in the size and scope and expense of government. But we just don't have the critical mass in D.C., do we?
No, fiscal conservatives, we are vastly outnumbered, and largely because the American public loves their benefits from the federal government.
Yeah.
And they're always told, well, somebody else is going to pay for those things. We're going to make the rich pay their fair share, and they're happy to go along with that fantasy. So the result is, again, we're $37 trillion in debt. Your dollar has devalued dramatically. From 1998, your dollar you held in 1998 is only worth 51 cents.
Mm-hmm.
The dollar you held as recently as 2019 is only worth 80 cents. That's the chronic debt crisis we've been in because of this massive deficit spending, the devaluing of the dollar, the silent tax inflation, and there's no end in sight. Over the next 10 years, the current CBO numbers say we'll have $26.4 trillion in total deficits over the next 4 years. That's an average deficit of $2.6 trillion a year. And unfortunately, most people are just whistling by the graveyard. And the general attitude is, I've heard Mitch McConnell apparently said, show me a member of Congress who ever lost the election because they spent too much money. That is the prevailing attitude, but mainly because there's not public pressure to reduce spending. There's a lot of public pressure to keep the spigots open, keep giving me my benefit.
Yeah. One aspect of this possible quote-unquote shutdown I mentioned is that you would have permanent layoffs, even if there's a temporary shutdown. There's also a suggestion that there's a quote-unquote federal workforce revolt with upwards of 100,000 federal workers ready to resign. It's what's being characterized as potentially the biggest walkout in U.S. history. That would be a happy occurrence, generally speaking. But what is your handle on what would happen to the aggregate number of government personnel if there is a shutdown and anything associated with this potential quote unquote mass walkout? If 100,000 people out of 2 million is a mass walkout.
Well, in the private sector, when a company goes bankrupt, everybody loses their jobs, and then they have to go out to the other private sector companies and get a job someplace else. Happens all the time. There's a great deal of churn within the private sector. Why should government employees be immune from that? They're working for a bankrupt entity, let's face it. Now, it's not totally bankrupt because the federal government has all the power to extract, people's hard-earned, the fruits of their hard-earned labor in taxation. So, again, I would take Russ' vote seriously in terms of his threats if I were Hakeem Jeffrey and Chuck Schumer. And again, that's what happens in the private sector. I don't see any reason why public sector employees should be immune from the same basic forces.
Neither do I. Senator Ron Johnson, Republican senator from Wisconsin. Senator Johnson, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
You too. And Senator Johnson joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, my name is Dr. Michael Huber. During cold and flu season, a nearby cough or sneeze can trigger a familiar dread, that helpless feeling of being defenseless against an invisible viral threat. But what if you could change the narrative? What if you could fortify your body's natural defenses? This is why I developed Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail designed to give your body the upper hand. Virago is more than a supplement. It's a revolutionary liquid formula packed with 23 powerful natural nutraceuticals for rapid absorption. This unique blend is scientifically crafted to help build resilience and keep you protected. Don't just hope for good health. Make it happen with Virago. Virago and Maha, making America healthy again.
Virago. Order your bottle today online at myvirago.com and use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. myvirago.com. Coupon code IMMUNE.
You've heard me talk about Northridge Prep for years, but now I want you to hear from one of their recent graduates. His name is TJ Gorman. He just graduated second in his class in Marine Corps basic training. This is what he said about Northridge Prep. I was blessed to attend Northridge not only for the education, but for the values and principles my mentors instilled within me. The school taught us what it meant to be a leader and lead through example, hard work, humility, and empathy. I thank God for Northridge. That's what makes Northridge Prep great for young men. The students are called to excellence to become true leaders. And these boys want to go to school each day. They love Northridge because they can be free to learn, to grow, and to be challenged. There's a real spirit of adventure on campus that you've just got to experience for yourself in order to appreciate it. For nearly 50 years, they've partnered with parents like no other school in the Chicagoland area. Today in our nation, we need more Northridge graduates to lead the way as men of intellect and character who love God. Guys like TJ Gorman, men who put their values first. Northridge Prep is having an open house on Sunday, October 19th at 1 o'clock in the afternoon for boys in grades 6 through 12. You can register for that open house at northridgeprep.org. Again, it's Sunday, October 19th at 1 p.m., and you can register if you have a boy in grades 6 through 12 at northridgeprep.org.
This is Chris Stigall for townhall.com. In a landmark moment for public health, the Trump administration announced a series of initiatives that signify a compassionate and long overdue approach to addressing the autism epidemic. Led by HHS Secretary RFK Jr. and his team, it will include a comprehensive investigation into potential root causes, including acetaminophen exposure during pregnancy and possible associations with vaccines. It also promotes innovative treatments like leucovorin to improve outcomes for children already affected by autism. There's no question the numbers merit a new approach. We've seen a 5-fold increase in autism over the past 20 years. Among boys, it's an astounding 1 in 20. For families who've endured years of heartache and unanswered questions, this initiative represents more than just policy. It's a profound act of empathy, recognizing every child's future deserves unwavering attention. If these efforts successfully reduce autism diagnoses, the resulting impact could be transformative.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion. That's billion with a B. Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words micro. That's pound 250, micro.
It was a typical day. You were doing the usual, but then you met up with a friend at Weinstock Market and Lounge in Woodstock. Wow! The small-town charm and turn-of-the-century building set the tone for a classic outing. Their charcuterie pleased your palate like you never imagined. The Chicago beef sandwich made your taste buds dance. And the hand-selected wines from small vineyards around the world, so perfect. All paired with amazing live music. Wine Stock Market and Lounge changes your day from ordinary to extraordinary.
Wine Stock Market and Lounge, voted McHenry County's best wine shop and best of Fox 2 years in a row. Open Tuesday through Saturday, 3 p.m. till 11 p.m. Live music on weekends. Open mic nights on Tuesdays. Enjoy the fresh baked pizza and Chicago beef sandwiches. Wine favorites from Italy, New Zealand, France, and California. And a full menu of handcrafted cocktails. Plan a trip to Wine Stock Market and Lounge on the square in downtown Woodstock. Mention AM 560 and receive 10% off any purchase.
Attention investors with a 401k, IRA, or retirement account. The dollar has lost over 25% of its value in the past 5 years, and it's only going to get worse. Are you prepared for what's about to happen next? We are Advantage Gold, the #1 customer-rated gold IRA company in America, and we are helping Americans prepare for the great de-dollarization by diversifying their portfolios with physical precious metals. We've partnered with former chief economist of the IMF, Kenneth Rogoff, to give away his latest book called Our Dollar, Your Problem, a must-read for investors. Call 800-741-GOLD, and we'll rush a free copy of Our Dollar, Your Problem to your doorstep and include our special gold IRA investing kit, valued at $49. The dollar is losing value fast. Call 800-741-GOLD now to get your free copy of Our Dollar, Your Problem and our free gold IRA investing kit. Supplies are limited. Consult your tax and financial professional before investing. Call 800-741-4653. That's 800-741-GOLD.
Is war in the Middle East the revival of an ancient conflict recorded in the Bible?
The nation of Israel is a resurrected nation. So what if there was going to be a resurrection of another people, an enemy people of Israel?
Dinesh D'Souza's new film, The Dragon's Prophecy, is in theaters 2 nights only, October 6th and 8th.
We came back to a land that was largely barren and empty, and we brought it back to life, and we're going to keep it.
Tickets not sold in theaters. Get tickets only at thedragonsprophecyfilm.com.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you get coverage options based on how much you want to pay for car insurance. And then you decide how to spend the rest of your money, because you're in charge. And right now, you're going to pay for groceries. But you decide what groceries. Just keep in mind you're running out of dishwashing soap. But you decide if you're going to buy that soap. Just those dishes won't clean themselves, will they? Remember, with Progressive's Name Your Price tool, we'll help you find coverage at a fair price. And then you're in charge. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 7:37, time for our weekly installment, all things Illinois policy, and we're adding Illinois politics related. Ted Drosski, formerly of Wirepoints, now a Republican candidate for governor, joins us at 7:37. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 62 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Representative Mary Miller says parental rights are being diminished and it's time parents speak up. Correspondent Greg Bishop has more on the story.
U.S. Representative Mary Miller said allowing minor children to get an abortion without their parents being notified is, quote, insane.
J.B. Pritzker is turning our state into basically a destination state for pedophiles to bring their abused young girls in for abortions.
Miller has filed a measure to require parental consent for another recently enacted Illinois policy for mental health screenings in public schools. It is going to require
schools to have written consent from the parents before they do any kind of survey or psychological exam on the student.
Miller has since filed a constitutional amendment codifying parental rights in the Constitution. I'm Greg Bishop.
News is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you can save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Join AM 560 on Thursday, October 2nd in Glen Ellen for a conservative conversation, an evening of insight, inspiration, and ideas on how conservatives can unite around shared values to advance a common agenda. Speakers will include Pastor Lorenzo Sewell of 180 Church in Detroit, Jeannie Ives, and John Anthony, with each bringing a unique perspective on faith, policy, and community leadership. Get your tickets today at 560theanswer.com/conversation. That's 560theanswer.com/conversation.
It's Reveille. To my Illinois listeners, yesterday I endorsed my friend Ted Drosski for governor of Illinois. I've known and worked with Ted for over 13 years. I first met him when I was a new state representative. He was my go-to researcher and sounding board on a wide range of issues, from property taxes to crony corporate government handouts. Illinois cannot survive 4 more years of Governor Pritzker. He squandered 7 years, billions of new revenue, and the political power to make things better. Pritzker could have made lasting revolutionary changes to budgeting, property tax and pension systems, business regulation, parental rights, and so much more. He did the opposite. His years are marked by record spending, doubling the gas tax, moving Illinois to the number 1 spot for highest property taxes, protecting criminal illegal aliens, stagnant job growth, record vacancies in the downtown office market, green energy policies that have resulted in sky-high electric bills, making Illinois a travel destination for abortion, and allowing schools to secretly misgender students behind their parents' backs. We can do better. As to the other candidates in the race, I know them well. They can't win. I supported Bailey in 2022, but we have a much better option this time around in Ted Drosski and his running mate, Dr. Carrie Mendoza. No one knows the issues better than Ted, and no one is better positioned than Ted and Carrie to attract independent suburban voters on the merits of who can do better for Illinois families. I'm calling on my fellow pro-life and pro-family voters to join me in supporting this team. They share our values and are in the best position to win fighting for them. To learn more, visit tedforillinois.com. I'm Jeannie Ives. Listen to The Real Story on Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
The Lutheran Life Communities Foundation supports spiritual care at our 4 retirement communities. Our full-time chaplains provide Christian support as older people journey through the aging process. Through assisted living, memory care, nursing, and rehab, our chaplains walk the path with your loved ones. Please support our 130-year mission with your offering today. Visit LutheranLifeCommunities.org today. That's LutheranLifeCommunities.org. Find out how you can help.
Protect your liver and give it the support it deserves with Active Liver from New Nordic. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or at newnordicusa.com.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Inbound on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose is 21 minutes. Outbound getting slow at 18 minutes. The Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 31 minutes. Outbound is 20. The Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 40 minutes. Outbound 25. Inbound Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore is 45 minutes, so pretty slow. Outbound is 32. And the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange is 26. Outbound is 11. Outbound on the Jane Adams, a car fire cleared at Bussey Road, and the Tri-State southbound has a crash at East St. Charles Road. This report is sponsored by Staples. Cue the easy button because it's almost easy deal days at Staples. Starting October 5th, enjoy 7 days of savings on 1,000 products online and in your local Staples store. From tech, chairs, luggage, and more. Get a sneak peek of all the deals at staples.com. Staples. That was easy. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be very warm with abundant sunshine reaching a high of 82. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a low of 61. Tomorrow, anticipate warm weather with sun peeking through high clouds and a high of 77. Looking ahead to Thursday, it will be very warm with a mix of sun and clouds reaching a high of 81. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois. You can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when you're moving out. I said, when you're moving out.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. That music means it's time for our weekly conversation with Ted Drosski, formerly of Wire Points, now a Republican candidate for governor of Illinois. Picking up on the commentary you just heard from Jeannie Ives endorsing Ted, and I have as well. Former State Representative Tom Morrison has as well. It's interesting to see what's happening. You're seeing a consolidation of both the conservative grassroots as well as the conservative reform donor class, the heavier hitters in that donor class, still around and participating, coalescing behind Drosski in a way that they really haven't since Rauner ran in 2014. And of course, that was sort of a wing and a prayer. There was a lot of us who had concerns about Rauner because, he's seen as transactional, buddies with Rahm Emanuel, donated to Democrats, no social agenda, so he said. And it turned out to be a poor experiment in governance. But the difference this time is there's no questions about Ted. And this is why you're seeing that support coalesce, which is productive. And I will say something else, too, since Jeannie mentioned, she supported Darren Bailey 4 years ago, as did I, of course. But this is a different race. And Bailey had an opportunity, and he proved himself unequal to the task, particularly with respect to the suburbs. And here's the reality. You cannot win a statewide race in Illinois as a Republican if you are not making your bones in suburban Cook and particularly the collars. Now, let me just give you a data point in terms of what happened 4 years ago. So in 2018, Rauner was at his political nadir, right? He lost by 15 points. He didn't even crack 40% of the vote in 2018. 39%, actually. And he also had Sam McCann taking GOP votes from him, a third-party candidate, you'll recall, running under, sort of a makeshift conservative party. 2018, 39% of the vote was Sam McCann also taking Republican votes from him. And Rauner still received more than 123,000 votes, 123,000 votes more than Bailey did in the suburbs. That's how bad Bailey was in the suburbs. He received 57,000 more votes in suburban Cook, 66,000 more votes in the collars. So that's just not acceptable because it's not functional. You can't win. You have to get back at least to the suburban numbers Rauner got in 2018, which is doable, and preferably the numbers that he got in suburban Cook and the collars in 2014, which was obviously much better outcome. That's political reality. Spin it any way you want. And with respect to Bailey and Del Mar, I find that particularly delicious that Aaron Del Mar, I guess he's titularly the Cook County Republican Party chairman, who's been impressed with what the Cook County Republican Party has been doing, if anything, under the stewardship. Aaron Del Mar is a low-character individual. In point of fact, he was shopping himself for anybody who would attach him to their ticket so that he can try to elevate himself politically. He's totally promiscuous, doesn't care. And it's just to prove it up, not me, Aaron Del Mar. Aaron Del Mar on Bailey a month ago on a Lake Forest podcast. This is what he said about Darren Bailey from 2022, still smarting that he didn't get the support, he and Gary Rabine didn't get the support that they believe they should have gotten in 2022 to be the nominee. Well, that's too bad, so sad. That's how it goes. But this is what he said about his now running mate, Aaron Del Mar, the LG, who's irrelevant, but it speaks to the character of both, frankly.
Which then used that money to support Bailey, right? Bailey had just as much money as Richard Irving did, right? And he handpicked his own candidate for the general election.
I know. He's right. Darren Bailey. Darren Bailey is. I've said this, and I've met Darren a number of times, as I'm sure you have. He's a nice guy, but he should stick to. Well, he couldn't even win in Southern Illinois.
No.
Lost down there for congressman.
But he's a horrible politician.
Rigged.
Yeah, there's your running mate calling you horrible at what you do. But Aaron Del Mar is happy to hitch his wagon to Darren Bailey because it's the only wagon hitch that was offered. Quite a ticket. So don't let residual name ID that Darren Bailey enjoys from having run before carry the day. Not if you want to have a chance at Pritzker in the general election. I'll tell you that right now. For more on the topic, please be joined by Ted Drosski. Ted, thanks for being with us.
Good morning, Dan. How are you?
Good. So let's talk about a couple of substantive matters in addition to the political one. But I guess first the political one, since I opened the door there. You had the endorsement of Tom Morrison, and Jeannie Ives yesterday. You heard Jeannie Ives' commentary about said endorsement. And just, give us your perspective on where you think things stand politically in the race with what you've been able to do so far.
Well, yeah, I really appreciated the support of Jeannie and Tom and Bob Grogan. Yeah, I've worked with Jeannie and Tom for I don't know how many years now, back in 2011, 2012. And what was fascinating about both of them, and I'd say they were the two best legislators who really, got into the nitty gritty of transactions of bills and laws. We would talk at midnight. We would talk anytime about pensions, about taxes. They really did their homework, and it was a great partnership because that's, I got to learn a lot through them. I got to see the legislation, the debate, and all that. And so, they are true grassroots fighters, and they were two of the best at defending everyday Illinoisans from the power of the Democrats in the state legislature. So their endorsement means a lot to me because they do truly represent the grassroots, in the suburbs and of course much of Illinois because they were fighting for Illinois. So I love that, and Bob Grogan, of course, is our treasurer for the campaign, and he's been great too. So getting that, coalescing some of that support, and then tie it with the donor support we've had just broad. I love getting the downstate donor support with Dick Uihlein just entered the campaign, and then you've got others in Chicago who have a totally different view of how to fix this state because they're in the Chicago machine, right? So in the Chicago economic engine. So it's been great to just coalesce all that, and let's see if we can keep building on it. That's the goal.
Yesterday, of course, the governor assembled all of his minions. He, JB and BJ together did to decry the prospect that more Department of Homeland Security officers would be sent to Chicago to provide protection for ICE officers doing their job, since, of course, both JB and BJ have told law enforcement you can't help federal law enforcement in any material way. And this is what JB said about it. He's outraged at the prospect.
When they get somebody who's a criminal and take them off the streets, fantastic. Just to stop people because they're black or brown and demand papers. And if they don't have papers, to detain them and in some cases disappear them. And I am outraged by what's happening.
Outraged. Well, you know who's outraged at JB's outrage? A lot of county sheriffs. Interesting survey that was done of sheriffs and their support or lack thereof for the sanctuary state law that's in effect. This Capital News Illinois I'm referencing. Of 28 sheriffs surveyed by Medill, Illinois News Bureau for Capital News Illinois, 25 said they would adhere to the Trust Act just because it's the law, but 17 of those sheriffs, 17 of 28, also expressed reservations, confusion, or disagreement with the state's sanctuary state law. Imagine that. This is my favorite. Adams County Sheriff, so this is Quincy area, Adams County Sheriff Anthony Grutens. What are you going to do? Are they going to have me lock myself up in my own jail if I choose not to go along with the sanctuary state policies and support federal law enforcement's efforts to improve public safety in Illinois? That was one sheriff's attitude. But we've seen this before. We've seen, most of the sheriffs and most of the state's attorneys come together and oppose, for example, his no cash bail law, and that didn't stop the Democrats. So just very interesting, though, to see the disconnect again between law enforcement and the political leadership of the state, and perhaps that provides an opportunity for a real distinction to present to the electorate.
Well, absolutely. I've been traveling around the state, a ton these last few weeks, and it always comes up, especially if I meet a sheriff. But a lot of the people are really upset about the safety, this quote Safety Act. They'd love to see that repealed. I get asked that all the time, and it's not surprising to me that a lot of these sheriffs don't like this, sanctuary law because it limits their ability to do what they're supposed to do, which is take criminals off the street.
Well, and you were in Broadview last week with with a couple of angel families, representatives of angel families, people who have had a loved one taken from them by a person in this country illegally. And I mean, so you saw firsthand what was going on outside that ICE facility in Broadview, and what the perspective is of people who've actually been, essentially victimized by this sanctuary state law.
Yeah, Dan. Since we talked last week, as a citizen, as a candidate, I wanted to speak up against what Governor Pritzker is doing and failing to do to protect Illinoisans, and so I wanted to have a press conference right there at the ICE facility on Broadview. And so we got a few people together. Joshua Fuqua from Chicago Flips Red joined, but importantly, Joe Abraham, who lost his daughter to an illegal immigrant, and Brian McCann. So we created a press conference there, and we went right there, and we were lucky because there were no protesters at the time we did it. But you're seeing now the chaos and the danger, and you've got these agitators, some of them with weapons. Governor Pritzker's lost control of that area, and it's scary. We had to worry about whether we would be safe going down there, but we were lucky. But Pritzker's lost control. He should take control of those streets again. He should separate the protesters just like he did at the DNC. Put them somewhere else. Let the law enforcement do their job, and it's scary right now. And Governor Pritzker is fomenting much of that violence there with his words. So there's a lot for me to differentiate between what I would do, which is cooperate with the federal authorities, versus what Pritzker's doing now, which is demonizing and calling them terrorists and things like that.
Well, and also cooperate with the local authorities, because at that press conference, you said you would make repealing the sanctuary state law in Illinois a first order of business deal if you're elected.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just if you can't have public safety, if the governor doesn't ensure the safety of its residents, then he or she has to go. It's really, and that law has to go.
And your interactions with law enforcement, not just on the sheriff or police side, but also first responders, the criminal justice side, state's attorneys. I mean, it really hasn't changed much in terms of where they were a few years ago with respect to both the sanctuary state law as well as the no cash bail. And I don't know what your perspective is, but where do you think essentially the worst fears that were voiced at the time that the so-called Safety Act, the no cash bail law, went into effect, combined with the sanctuary state designation? I mean, these 3 years have lived down to the worst expectations we had for them, haven't they?
Well, I think so. I mean, everywhere I go, people want to see the Safety Act just repealed. And we should absolutely just get rid of it. There might be some good elements in it, and we should bring those back if we can. But, that should be repealed. The sanctuary state law should be repealed. The Trust Act, the Chicago's sanctuary city, all that should be repealed, and we should get back to public safety. And I think we've seen the mess over the last 5 years. During George Floyd, of course, during COVID, we continue to be the murder capital of the country. All that has to end, and this is why I think the whole Trump move is so interesting. I talked about this with you, I think, a while back, but he wants to get back to safe cities, not less crime, but safe cities, and that's a huge distinction, and I love that. I love that distinction because people should feel safe, not just in the Loop, but in the south sides and west sides. So it's a big ambitious goal, but we should shoot for it, not continue to protect criminals like Pritzker's doing.
What about the rhetoric? I mean, this is obviously a important aspect of the discussion. And you had, again, at that press conference yesterday, the demonization of federal law enforcement officers, the suggestion by Pritzker, you just heard it, that ICE agents are disappearing black and brown people. I mean, he essentially is insinuating there's some sort of death squad, number one. Number two, you just had the Chicago Teachers Union over the weekend honor the life of a convicted cop killer that even the Dem governor of New Jersey couldn't stomach. And he repudiated those who chose to honor Assata Shakur, who was convicted of killing a New Jersey state trooper some 50 years ago. But the Chicago Teachers Union, celebrating her life, a convicted cop killer. And I mean, it's just all of this incendiary rhetoric. You're seeing it with the protesters, some of whom have been arrested outside the ICE facility in Broadview. And what do you have to say to the Brandon Johnsons and the J.B. Pritzkers that are suggesting that law enforcement officers are the real enemy, not people who are preying on other people on the streets of Chicago and elsewhere?
Well, I mean, words versus actions are everything. You know, the actions. If Pritzker really wanted to prove his worth, he would remove those agitators from Broadview. He would actually take the actions to stop and to quell the violence. But instead, he's feeding it. I mean, when he starts using the word terror, you mentioned disappearing. You know, what's fascinating is how many people listen to Governor Pritzker still. And it's not just Governor Pritzker; it's the media that takes it and pushes it out. And I think one of the big problems with having somebody so rich, Pritzker spent over $400 million over the last two cycles, and a lot of that money goes to the media. So the media becomes very obedient to Governor Pritzker, and so they will pitch out his message,
unchallenged.
And people believe it, unchallenged, and people believe it. I mean, this is amazing when he says those kind of words like that they're disappearing brown people. People listen to it and they believe it. And that's the problem. There's not a good debate on that, and certainly not a good coverage. So he gets away with it, and not just gets away with it, but he's fomenting people to behave that way.
Ted Drosski, Republican candidate for governor of Illinois, formerly the president of wirepoints.org. Ted, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan.
And Ted joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly. Each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Sean Thompson here, and I'm with attorney Bert Hochberg from the law firm of Schiller, Ducanto, and Fleck. We're talking about divorce arbitration. This is not really a new, or is it a new, innovative way to go through divorce?
Arbitration has been around for decades. It's completely legit and available to resolve divorce cases. The litigants and their lawyers sign an arbitration agreement. They identify what the issues are, and we set up dates, and we determine what experts and witnesses there may be. Arbitration is a hearing, a trial that is intended to finish a case efficiently with limited appeal, with a binding decision, and it's confidential, so it has some great characteristics.
I think it's a unique alternative to divorce. For more information, please visit sdflaw.com and type Bert Hochberg into the search box. That's sdflaw.com or call direct 773-255-6150.
The Lutheran Life Communities Foundation supports spiritual care at our 4 retirement communities. Our full-time chaplains provide Christian support as older people journey through the aging process. Through assisted living, memory care, nursing, and rehab, our chaplains walk the path with your loved ones. Please support our 130-year mission with your offering today. Visit LutheranLifeCommunities.org today. That's LutheranLifeCommunities.org. Find out how you can help.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Robert Anderson, president of McLaughlin Body Company in the Quad Cities, and a customer of Signature Bank. When our 100-year-old family-owned manufacturing company was looking for a new bank, we found an excellent partner with Signature Bank. Signature Bank understands the challenges with manufacturing in today's highly competitive environment. We recently participated in the New Markets Tax Credit Program, and we're fortunate to have the experts at Signature Bank help us navigate the complexities of this program. With Signature Bank's support, we were able to expand not only our facility, but ultimately our business. If you're looking for a trusted banking partner for your business, look to Chicago's own Signature Bank.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560, The Answer. AM 560. The Answer.
All right, we were hoping for it yesterday, but it dropped after the show. Dave Swirsky's Bears victory cover song, always good. You're not going to necessarily get a lot of these in terms of cover songs celebrating a Bears victory, so enjoy them while you can.
Block this kid, or maybe he could slip. Josh Black will attack. The Bears are so big. When the game was nearly done, could they block it? And Daniel Carlson jogged on. Will they block it? And our defense, they held on. Can they block it? They snapped it. Fans mouths agape. Kick went up. Look straight. Oh my lord. Blackwell's hands. He might deflect it to win the game. He blocked it. Blocked it good. Could this be our turnaround? The Bears won it. The whole game was up and down, but we won it. Got the win today because they blocked it. The Bears blocked it. Blocked it good. The Bears blocked it. Knew they would. Bears, 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 Bears.
You know, as someone who came of age in the 80s, I love the 80s musical tributes. He did the Romantics a couple weeks ago. Of course, that's Devo. And, you know, he turns them fast. Pretty good stuff. So you can follow him on Instagram. That's where I find all of his song offerings. Dave Swirsky, very, very, very good. And hopefully Ben Johnson will have recovered, can recover during the bye week from that tongue lashing he got from the sideline reporter who told him he had to do something very different in the second half in order to get past the Raiders. That was highly entertaining. We discussed that yesterday. All right, coming up at 8:08, we're going to talk to Rachel Paulos, who served as U.S. Attorney for the District of Minnesota. She has some thoughts on Comey. She also has some thoughts on Dearborn, Michigan. We'll talk about them both at 8:08. It is now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
No more dudes in dresses. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what the Secretary of War just told generals and admirals.
We became the woke department, but not anymore.
Pete Hegseth addressing a meeting of military commanders flown in from around the world.
In many ways, this speech is about fixing decades of decay.
Hegseth told them at the Marine base in Quantico, Virginia.
The new War Department golden rule is this: do unto your unit as you would have done unto your own child's unit. Would you want him serving with fat or unfit or undertrained troops?
The secretary gave each military leader a new 10-part directive.
But if the words I'm speaking today are making your heart sink, then you should do the honorable thing and resign.
Soon, President Trump will address the meeting the day after he pushed a plan to stop the war in Gaza that Israel's prime minister sitting next to him agreed to.
The promise of a new Middle East is so clearly within our reach. This is the closest we've ever come to real peace, not fake peace.
Hamas is reviewing the plan.
Under the plan, the war in Gaza would immediately end, all hostages released within days, and Israel gradually withdraws as a civilian-led committee begins the process of establishing a post-war Gaza government. President Trump says no one will be forced to leave Gaza, and those who do leave will be free to return.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House, where a meeting with congressional leaders did not lead to a deal to fund the government, so a shutdown looms in 15 hours.
Republicans want a temporary spending measure that the House already passed. It keeps funding at current levels while lawmakers continue to work through the appropriations process. But they're accusing Democrats of making unreasonable demands.
Fox's Madeline Rivera. There's a new hurricane this morning, but Imelda is not a threat to the U.S. It is forecast to take a sharp turn right away from the East Coast. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 63 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keen in the AM 560 newsroom. The Trump administration deployed ICE and Border Patrol agents to Chicago over the weekend following the deployment of the National Guard to Portland, Oregon. Now, speaking to reporters, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker accuses the White House of attempting to manufacture a crisis that warrants a military response.
Governor Pritzker said shows of federal force on Chicago's streets are unnecessary and not about safer cities.
Instead, it is putting our people in danger.
Now Pritzker says his National Guard tells him Homeland Security has asked the Department of War to send soldiers,
claiming a need for the protection of ICE personnel and facilities.
The governor calls this proof of President Trump's authoritarianism and asks residents to document who and what they see on their phones.
We need to let the world know that this is happening and that we won't stand for it.
The president claims crime in Chicago and cities like Memphis and Portland, Oregon is out of control. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Joliet police say a man shot and killed his wife before he turned the gun on himself. Neighbors say they heard arguing before they heard those shots fired. And federal health officials are warning consumers not to eat certain pasta meals that are sold at Walmart and Trader Joe's stores nationwide. Market-side linguine with beef meatballs and marinara sauce, which was sold at Walmart and Trader Joe's Cajun-style blackened chicken breast fettuccine Alfredo, may be contaminated with listeria previously linked to a deadly outbreak. Fresh Realm, the food processor that distributed the products, say the test showed that the pasta in the meals may be contaminated with the same bacteria that was tied to a recall this past summer. News is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Learn more and check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes, but now time for the AM 560 Business Beat.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stocks are under pressure with the possibility of a partial government shutdown. Gold prices rose this morning to another high. Government reports on the economy won't be issued during a partial shutdown, which would leave the Federal Reserve with less to consider about the economy when it meets at the end of October. Bloomberg is reporting that ExxonMobil plans to cut about 2,000 jobs around the world as part of its long-term restructuring. Is working on a plane to replace the 737 MAX. The Wall Street Journal says Boeing CEO Kelly Ortberg met with officials from Rolls-Royce, the engine supplier, to discuss a new single-engine airplane. Ortberg hasn't publicly discussed the plans and has said his priority is fixing Boeing's problems with quality and manufacturing. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Posilda. Invested in you.
Hugh Hewitt has a plan to fix health care.
It's got to go through regular order. They got to talk about how to fix Obamacare. And when they fix Obamacare, they have to extend tax credits for those who are caught in Obamacare because they lost their job, they lost their plan, they didn't keep their doctor, they didn't keep their plan as President Obama promised. Obamacare is a nightmare and a disaster, but we don't want to leave people on the raft floating out to sea.
The Hugh Hewitt Show, afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Let's see, if something costs less, a lot less, but people are actually happier with it, that sounds like something to look into. And that's MetaShare.
Maybe you've heard joining MediShare can save you or your family up to $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true. People are just happier with it. They love being part of something that reflects and promotes their values and what they believe in. MediShare works, too. It's been around for 30 years now, and members have shared more than $7 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network, so yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care, whether you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan that you're happy with. Here you go. You can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. It's 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Living with everyday pain is like having a voice that always says, no, you can't do that. No, you better sit this one out. It's no way to live. So if pain is affecting you, see how Relief Factor can help get you back to life on your terms. One where you say yes a lot more. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor's unique formula of natural ingredients does not just mask pain, it helps reduce or eliminate it for good. Whether it's your back, neck, joints, or muscles, Relief Factor can help you, as it has for so many others. So call 1-800-4-RELIEF and give Relief Factor's 3-week quick start a try. It's only $19.95, less than $1 a day to get your life back. Just go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. And see how you can say yes to more of everything you want.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Inbound on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose is 21 minutes. Outbound very slow at 27. The Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange is 33 minutes. Outbound is 22. The Eisenhower, that is getting slammed right now on the inbound side from Wolf to the Old Post Office. 58 minutes, just under an hour. Outbound is 36. And also slam-packed on the inbound Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore, 61 minutes. Outbound 34. Real slow on the inbound Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 33 minutes. Outbound still looks good at 11. And then watch out for a crash on the Tri-State southbound just before 31st Street. It blocks the right lane, but that other crash by East St. Charles Road has been cleared away. Traffic is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be very warm with abundant sunshine and a high of 82. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a low of 61. Tomorrow will be warm with sun peeking through high clouds, reaching a high of 77. By Thursday, it will be very warm with a mix of sun and clouds and a high of 81. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I've been watching this story for a couple of weeks, but I haven't really had the occasion to comment on it. I will now. What's going on in Dearborn, Michigan? It sort of started in terms of Dearborn bubbling back up to the surface. I mean, Dearborn, Michigan is a majority Muslim community, Muslim American. It sort of bubbled up to the surface again in terms of a controversy because the city decided to name a street after a newspaper publisher named Osama Siblani, who has advocated for Israel's destruction, praised terrorist organizations like Hamas, claimed the American government is bought by the Zionist lobby, threatened to send Israeli Jews back to Poland, quote unquote. So you can imagine that perhaps not every resident of Dearborn, Michigan would be ecstatic about this individual being honored. And one of those individuals, not ecstatic about it, decided to show up to a city council meeting and express his displeasure And this was the response that he got from the mayor of Dearborn, Michigan, a gentleman named Abdullah Hammoud.
Hezbollah, bombed the embassy in Beirut, and including many Americans. So I just feel it's quite inappropriate.
You are an Islamophobe, and although you live here, I want you to know, as mayor, you are not welcome here. And the day you move out of the city will be the day that I launch a parade celebrating the fact that you moved out of the city, because you are not somebody who believes in coexistence.
Okay. That's a little heavy-handed, don't you think there, Mayor Hammoud? I don't believe in coexistence. You're hoping to exile, or for me to self-exile, because I disagree with you honoring a guy who celebrates the activities of terrorist organizations like Hamas and Hezbollah. And I'm the guy with the peaceful coexistence problem. Okay. Another matter is the calls to prayer that occur throughout the day in Dearborn, Michigan. This is still an American community. It's on American soil. It feels very separatist. And one woman complained about the blaring calls to prayer in the wee hours of the morning, saying the following.
But the mosques in East Dearborn are now at times waking us up at 5:30 in the morning with the call to prayer.
This is Dearborn resident Andrea Unger at last night's City Council meeting, stating that mosques using outdoor loudspeakers for their call to prayer should not be allowed, and says she believes it's not supposed to be allowed per city ordinance.
The noise complaints have been made out and the police have made numerous visits. What is the next step?
There was some question whether or not any outdoor loudspeakers are allowed, something that was not clarified, only that more evidence is being gathered. But CBS Detroit did examine Dearborn's noise ordinance and found that loudspeakers between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. are in violation of the ordinance.
More evidence needs to be gathered? Okay, sure. It's an odd situation going on there in Dearborn, Michigan. Hamtramck too. Hamtramck, Michigan has had some, voter fraud issues. The Constitution and applicable federal and state laws are in force in Dearborn, Michigan, and Hamtramck, Michigan, and just as they are anywhere else. Just a point of order on that. For more on this topic, we're pleased to be joined by Rachel Paulos, who served as U.S. Attorney for the District of Minnesota from 2006 to 2008. Rachel, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan.
So there's been a couple of states that have moved to essentially ban Sharia law, which seems like an odd thing to have to do, that a theological set of laws would not supersede America's secular legal regimes. But this has happened in both the state of Texas, and there's been legislation introduced in the state of Florida as well. What's your perspective on what is going on in those states that have moved in that direction, and, of course, what you've heard coming from Dearborn?
So I think, as many as 43 states have had bills introduced to ban Sharia law, including in Texas, which in some ways, as I've written about, has operated as ground zero for the fight because of pressure being put on by imams publicly to boycott businesses that do not follow Sharia law, and efforts by radical fundamentalists to set up entire cities where Islamic law overrules the U.S. Constitution, which obviously is illegal in the United States. And so there's been an interesting movement in Texas that Texas Governor Greg Abbott has really been at the center of in moving to ban Sharia law when it conflicts with the Constitution and laws of the United States.
It seems like it's redundant. I mean, it's like it's self-executing. I mean, the laws of Texas supersede, the catechism supersedes Sharia law. I mean, right? I mean, we don't need to pass legislation that suggests that the federal law, Constitution, state laws have. Did we lose her? Apparently we did. All right, let's try and get Rachel Paulos back, and we'll come right back.
You see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Chris Stigall for townhall.com. In a landmark moment for public health, the Trump administration announced a series of initiatives that signify a compassionate and long overdue approach to addressing the autism epidemic. Led by HHS Secretary RFK Jr. and his team, it will include a comprehensive investigation into potential root causes, including acetaminophen exposure during pregnancy and possible associations with vaccines. It also promotes innovative treatments like leucovorin to improve outcomes for children already affected by autism. There's no question the numbers merit a new approach. We've seen a 5-fold increase in autism over the past 20 years. Among boys, it's an astounding 1 in 20. For families who've endured years of heartache and unanswered questions, this initiative represents more than just policy. It's a profound act of empathy, recognizing every child's future deserves unwavering attention. If these efforts successfully reduce autism diagnoses, the resulting impact could be transformative.
Business owners, now's the time for your business to make the move to a locally owned business bank. Hi, Mike Gallagher here to let you know that you don't have to look far. Signature Bank was founded in Chicago with a simple mission to help companies like yours grow, succeed, and thrive. Their decisions are made locally by a terrific team that knows your name, cares about your business, and invests in your success. That's why Signature Bank is my bank. I'm a customer. As business owners, they knew that local family-owned businesses were not getting the help they needed or deserved. So I invite you to reach out to my friends at Signature Bank today. Write the number down. Remember this phone number, Signature Bank, 773-467-5630, and learn all about this great bank, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
The Dinesh D'Souza Podcast.
This is an important thing to recognize about Trump is he's a very transactional guy. Trump will impose a penalty, and if you come to him and say, well, let's make a deal. This is the actual opposite of socialism. This is called cutting a deal to make something work. And I think that's all that goes through Trump's mind.
Subscribe to the Dinesh D'Souza Podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com. AM 560, The Answer.
Dan Proft, okay, I think we have Rachel Paulos back. She is a former U.S. attorney for the District of Minnesota. Rachel, we got you now?
Yes, you do. I'm so sorry, Dan.
Oh, that's all right. No problem. It happens. So I was just saying before the break, you were talking about all the states that have moved in the direction of banning Sharia law, starting with Texas and Florida, and then this dust up going on in Dearborn, Michigan. But my question was, like, isn't that legislation sort of redundant? Do we need legislation that says, state law supersedes the catechism, supersedes the Torah, supersedes the Quran? I mean, why do we need this? It's self-evident, self-executing.
Well, apparently not everybody understands that. And so, for example, when the Texas governor said that Sharia law would be banned in Texas, the Council on American Islamic Relations issued a press release saying that their interpretation of the First Amendment was that Islamic practices in America can encompass rules involving their houses of worship and burial practices and estate distribution and business contracts, which, quote, courts can and must uphold as long as those rules do not violate public policy, end quote. And so their interpretation is that public policy is the red line, not the Constitution and the laws of the United States, which of course is not correct. But now we have to go to court to deal with that.
Right. I mean, it's sort of like other religious practices. I mean, to use an extreme example, in my religion, I believe in human sacrifices. Well, that's where your religious beliefs are not protected under the First Amendment, for example.
Right. And it doesn't matter what public policy is. That is not an issue for the courts to wade in on. Public policy is something that legislatures decide and that the people decide, but courts do not adjudicate disputes on public policy. Courts adjudicate disputes on the law, and they interpret the law according to the Constitution of the United States, and in this case, the Constitution of Texas.
So, like, for example, in Dearborn, Michigan, with the using the loudspeakers for a call to prayer, this is a time, place, manner restriction that is constitutional. It is not preventing anyone from practicing their faith, the legitimate, peaceful practice of their faith, any more than, banning the church bells at a Catholic church from ringing at 5 a.m. would be violative of Catholics' freedom of conscience either. I mean, those are the sort of things that are legitimate issues to raise, which is frankly why Dearborn, Michigan already has an noise ordinance against it that they're ignoring.
Mm-hmm, exactly. That was the exact analogy that came to my mind, is that many Christian churches do ring their bells at various times of the day, but that bell ringing has to be in accordance with local ordinances. And that's not, that's going to be squared with freedom of religion. And so every faith has to obey local noise ordinances. It's not singling out the Islamic religion for persecution to say you still have to follow local noise ordinances.
Right. So there's a bit of disingenuousness here. Nobody is advocating for a restriction on Muslims' ability to peacefully practice the Islamic faith. It's all these other matters where they're similarly situated to any other religion and being treated the same. And you have some politicians and some organizations like CARE trying to insinuate discrimination for the purpose of sort of subverting the rule of law, frankly. I don't know how else to put it.
Well, whatever their motives are, I think that a court of law is going to see it as we're going to apply the law to these facts, and it's pretty straightforward. In the Texas case, that you can't set up entire cities where Sharia law governs. There are no Christian cities in America where Christian law trumps the U.S. Constitution, for example. And so there's no enclave where a particular faith gets to say that their religion trumps what we have accepted as the law of the land in this country.
Yeah, and boy, that mayor in Dearborn, Michigan, trying to throw a resident out because he disagrees with the street being named for somebody who's seems to be a terrorist sympathizer. That's an odd exchange. I mean, if there was a different religion being represented and honor being conferred, an exchange like that would have drawn a lot more attention, I suspect, from the D.C. press corps. But that's just a side note. I wanted to get to something else because you've written on the topic and want to get your legal opinion on this. Of course, I'm talking about Jim Comey's indictment. Mm-hmm. Ari Fleischer, a former White House press secretary for W, had a good post on this. I don't know if Jim Comey is innocent or guilty, but I do know that when the Biden DOJ indicted Trump aides Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon, the Washington Post, the New York Times treated it as a straight news story, not as Biden going after his political opponents. But now it's all about Trump getting his enemies, and he posts headlines from the Post and the Times. Contempt charges over House's Capitol riot inquiry. Navarro indicted as Justice Department opts not to charge Meadows and Scavino. Steve Bannon indicted after refusal to comply with J6 committee subpoena. So rather than report Jim Comey indicted for allegedly lying under oath and obstructing justice, we get the Trump lashes out at enemies and compels an indictment of Jim Comey. So that's, of course, the way it's being treated by the press. But what do you think about the way it was treated by the prosecutors who made the decision to move forward and get and secure those grand jury indictments?
Well, I think there are 2 points to be made there. And one is that obviously the justice system was weaponized against President Trump and his allies for years and years. And the mainstream media did not cover that in a fair and even-handed way. And I think that just a chutzpah of the president's critics in now claiming that he is engaged in a campaign of retribution just really is remarkable. But I think more to the point, the president did not indict James Comey. Pam Bondi did not indict James Comey. Even Lindsay Halligan, the interim U.S. attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia, did not personally indict James Comey. A grand jury of ordinary citizens, somewhere between 16 to 23 of them, voted to indict James Comey because they believed there was probable cause that he committed a violation of federal law. And so that service requires a serious commitment. These are people who have made a time commitment to serve somewhere between 18 to 24 months. They've given up a huge portion of their lives to devote to public service. They're looking at not just, one person, but dozens, if not hundreds of targets that come before them that may be indicted. And they made this decision, not President Trump. And so, obviously in this country, we have huge respect for the jury system and the grand jury system. And I think we're proud, rightfully proud, that it has served as a cornerstone of Anglo-American law going back to 1215 AD and the Magna Carta.
What do you think what do you think about the quality of the case, though, if you were prosecuting it, the quality of the case, particularly on the perjury charge?
So, basically he's been indicted for lying and leaking. I think that this indictment, it is difficult to tell what the lie is based on the sparseness of this indictment, which, again, is not particularly unusual in white-collar crimes. But I think that the prosecution is probably going to be asked for what's called a bill of particulars. So they'll probably be asked for the name of person 1 and person 3. They'll probably be asked to identify what the false statement was. They'll probably be asked to identify which publication the leak was made to. And as best we can tell right now, this seems to be referring to a question that Ted Cruz directed to Jim Comey, about Andrew McCabe leaking to the Wall Street Journal. But Andy McCabe is strenuously denying that he's been cooperating with the Justice Department on this indictment. So there are still questions out there about what exactly?
Let's say what we have a pretty good idea is true. It's his buddy, the professor at Columbia. It's leaking to the New York Times. I mean, Richmond, said in an interview with the FBI where he was under oath that's exactly what happened. And so let's assume that that's what the main exhibit in terms of the evidence against Comey. In your view, is that strong enough to get a conviction? Seems to me it's pretty straightforward.
So then again, I would ask, was that the subject of the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing on the 20th? Because it seemed to me that was actually referring to Operation Hurricane Crossfire and Hillary Clinton's lack of indictment for sending classified information over a non-secure server.
Well, yeah, but the question it was categorical that Cruz asked in terms of leaking information, not specific to that investigation, leaking information in general to any third party,
to anyone.
Yeah, and so I mean,
he's already acknowledged that he's leaked to Daniel Richman, and I think Richman has himself spoken about that.
Right. So I mean, that's why I think the case is actually fairly straightforward. I'm sure Pat Fitzgerald will get into parsing of words and what it could be and try to sow reasonable doubt, but it's pretty straightforward. He kept saying, "I've never leaked any information," generally speaking, in response to general questions about it from Grassley in 2017, then Cruz in 2020, which is still within the statute of limitations, which is why this indictment happened. It needed to happen before today. And so, but on the face of it, I mean, for the commonsensical juror, that seems pretty straightforward. Okay, you lied under oath.
Right.
Okay.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what we need to figure out. I think that they need to provide a bill of particulars to say what the statement was.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure, but I'm just saying, assuming that it is what we think and there's not more to it. To me, that's enough. No? Yes? Maybe?
I think that it may be a different reference, Dan.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, I think it may be an entirely different conversation. So that's why I say I think there's some confusion about this, but they'll have to straighten it out.
Well, do you have any theory about what the other conversation would be if it wasn't about leaking to that Columbia professor?
I think it seems to be about leaking to Andy McCabe, or authorizing Andy McCabe to be a source to the Wall Street Journal about Hillary Clinton's issues and the declination to charge her regarding the server issue, and concurrently going after President Trump with Operation Crossfire.
Huh. Okay. Well, we'll see. Rachel Paulos served as U.S. Attorney for the District of Minnesota from 2006 to 2008. Rachel, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan.
And she joined us in the Turnkey.pro answer line. Coming up on at 8:38, we're going to talk to Creed Fisher. Creed Fisher, Texas-based outlaw country singer-songwriter. He is coming to Aurora on October 11th. We'll talk to him about that event. 8:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 64 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Our Chicagoland forecast looking at partly cloudy skies. Chance for a stray shower or a thunderstorm this afternoon. Highs topping out around 73 degrees. Joliet police say a man shot and killed his wife before he turned the gun on himself. Authorities say the shooting took place early on Monday morning. Neighbors saying that they heard arguing before they heard those shots fired. And Cook County homeowners can apply for property tax relief. Cook County Property Tax Relief Program is offering eligible homeowners $1,000 each. Now, to qualify, your income has to be at or below the Cook County area median income, and you must have experienced a property tax bill increase of at least 50% between 2021 and 2023. Cook County officials say if your property tax bill went from zero to any non-zero amount the following year, you meet that requirement. Find out all the details on the Cook County website. You find them at cookcountyil.gov. News is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Join AM 560 on Thursday, October 2nd in Glen Ellen for a conservative conversation, an evening of insight, inspiration, and ideas on how conservatives can unite around shared values to advance a common agenda. Speakers will include Pastor Lorenzo Sewell of 180 Church in Detroit, Jeannie Ives, and John Anthony, with each bringing a unique perspective on faith, policy, and community leadership. Get your tickets today at 560theanswer.com/conversation. That's 560theanswer.com/conversation.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
You know, nothing beats the comfort of a perfectly heated home.
And when it comes to heating your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Air Right Heating and Cooling is fast. When your furnace breaks down, they'll fix it right away.
Just like that. Big time results. No waiting around. You get the job done right. And let's face it, who doesn't love being warm, right? It's beautiful. When it's freezing, I crank up that amazing furnace. Burn, baby, burn. Trust me, you'll say, wow, I've never felt this warm in my life.
If you like keeping your hard-earned money, then contact Air Right Heating and Cooling. Tell them AM 560 sent you, and right now you'll receive $56 off any service.
Unbelievable.
Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
Rising debt, stock market swings, and global shocks can affect your retirement. But even in this economy, there's still opportunity. Protect your retirement with a secure, tax-advantaged gold IRA. Instead of leaving a 401k or IRA at the mercy of markets, hold physical gold or silver. Real protection for your future. And Noble Gold makes it simple. Visit NobleGoldInvestments.com and chat with a specialist. The conversation is free, and the peace of mind is priceless. NobleGoldInvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
My debt problem started probably about 2016. I needed my life to change financially. I called Trinity, and I ended up joining based on high credit card bills and high interest rate. And my counselor at Trinity has been great, and Trinity has been helping me to get on the right path of paying off these credit card bills, bringing down the interest rate. They have consolidated my bills into one low monthly payment. And now I am finally getting out of credit card debt. So I just want to say thank you, Trinity, for showing me a better and greater path.
If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Sharon, and soon I will be debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
When the power goes out, life stops. Heat, AC, fridge, phones, all gone. But with a Generac home standby generator from True Power Generator Service, your home powers back on automatically, so you're never left in the dark. Book your consultation today at TruePowerGenerator.com. That's TruePowerGenerator.com. Plus, 560 listeners get a free 10-year extended warranty. Terms and conditions apply. Call for details. True Power Generator Service and Generac. It's not just a generator, it's a power move.
This hourly segment is brought to you by In the Know with Craig Bolanos, powered by VestGen Wealth Partners, Sunday morning at 10 on AM 560 The Answer.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Inbound on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose is 23 minutes. Outbound is 30. The Kennedy inbound is real slow. From Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 49 minutes. Outbound is 22, but the Eisenhower is completely jammed inbound. From Wolf to the Old Post Office, 71 minutes. Outbound is 33. Getting a little bit better on the Stevenson inbound. From Tri-State to Lakeshore, 55 minutes. Outbound is 36. And the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to Burn Interchange is 36 minutes. Outbound is 13. There's an accident on the Tri-State Tollway on the southbound exit ramp to get onto the outbound Stevenson. This report is sponsored by the Harlem Globetrotters. This isn't just a game, it's a once-in-a-generation event. The Harlem Globetrotters 100-year tour. Come be part of a legacy that never stops. Be there when history is made. The Harlem Globetrotters 100-year tour. Get your tickets today at harlemglobetrotters.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be very warm with abundant sunshine reaching a high of 82. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a low of 61. Tomorrow, anticipate warm weather with sun peeking through high clouds and a high of 77. Looking ahead to Thursday, it will be very warm with a mix of sun and clouds reaching a high of 81. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
I smoke one when I got it. I'll drink a nice cold beer. A sucker for a good time. It's the reason I'm right here. I got drinking, got smoking, got cheating left to do. I'm hanging out with a bad crowd now I'm ass deep in these blues. I'm gonna live forever.
That is a new track from Creed Fisher. Creed Fisher, straight out of Friday Night Lights land, West Texas. Outlaw country singer-songwriter. He is coming to town, headlining the Piazza in Aurora on October 11th. The Piazza in Aurora on October 11th. His tour is entitled Between Heaven and Hell, the Between Heaven and Hell tour. So we're going to hear all about that from Creed Fisher. Creed, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, buddy, thanks for having me.
So this was inspired in part because of a motorcycle accident you suffered last year?
No, I did suffer a motorcycle wreck last year. That was just made, that was I don't know, life-defining moment for me, I guess.
Okay.
But it didn't really have anything to do with the album.
Well, how?
It just comes from.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I wrote the title track a couple years back. It just goes back to living on the road and doing music for a living, and
the
good, the bad, and the ugly that go along with it.
So the Between Heaven and Hell was your life at the time.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was living through.
Okay. Give me the oscillating between heaven and hell. What was that? What did that entail?
Well, life in itself is a battle for your soul, but just living on the road, there's a lot of temptations, a lot of pitfalls and also a lot of good stuff, but just a song about, the women and the drugs and the living on the road and the fast lifestyle, living in the fast lane, that sort of thing.
And
the difference when you come home and then when you're on the road,
And so as we stand here today, are you a little bit closer to heaven or a little bit closer to hell?
Well, I would hope heaven.
Yeah,
so we're working on it.
Yeah. All right. Well, tell us about the motorcycle accident then last year, and how serious it was, and what that recovery was like, and how that was, as you said, a life-defining moment.
Oh, it was one of the hardest things I ever been through. Broke my pelvis in half.
Oof.
And almost bled to death before they got me to the hospital. And it was a long recovery. Even though I was only off of the road for 47 days, I went back and sat down in the throne. But as far as my recovery goes, it was probably, I'm just a little bit over a year out, so I'm still recovering. I'm still in the process of recovering, but very lucky to be alive, to have both legs and be back on the road and doing what I love to do.
Yeah, I mean, an injury like that, obviously, that's going to take, it's going to take a long time to recover, especially when, you get to, we're about the same age. You get to our age. So what was the nature of the accident? What happened?
Oh, it's a long story, but to make a long story short, the guy that was leading us in front of me took a U-turn right in front of me.
And there was
a long story. I mean, he ran off on foot. The story goes on for a while, but
so it was a collision on the road, and then the injuries you suffered as you described, and so as a near death experience that changes people's perspectives. That's not unusual. So how did it change yours?
Well, it changes everything.
Yeah.
You don't sweat the small stuff after that. You realize how blessed you are just to be alive and to be doing what you love to do in your life. So.
And how did you get started in this country music career in the first place? Just sort of your origin story, if you will.
I just picked up a guitar at 35 and started writing songs. And then I talked to my dad and loaned me the money to go record an album. I went to Nashville, recorded my first album back in 2012. And then I started touring Texas and did that for years. Went through a lot of different things, but finally, 2017, got out of Odessa, Midland, moved to Austin, put my band together, and we've been I had to go back and work. I guess 2017 was the last time I had a day job, but ever since then, I've been just trying to tour, and obviously COVID happened, and just all these, 2021, we kind of hit the road running, and we've been busy ever since.
I mean, so 35 is, a little bit older than most to start a music career. What were you doing before then?
I was a journeyman electrician and raising my kids.
And it was at a moment like at 35, you just said, I've got these songs in my head and I want to do this and it's now or never. Was that kind of it?
No, I got divorced after 12 years and was miserable.
Oh, okay.
So it was therapy.
You poured it into the music. Interesting.
Yeah.
And then it's one of those, overnight success that takes a long time. I mean, you had to grind it out, going from venue to venue, I assume, for some time before you started to build a following.
Yeah, I grinded it out for years. I think probably around 2019 we started drawing crowds, and you could tell something had changed, something was different.
How do you know when something has changed? Is it like when you have members of the audience singing your songs back to you? Is that it?
No, you have people there.
just you're playing for somebody other than yourself and your bandmates. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so like, is this? I don't know how old your children are, but is this in part a family affair now too? Even though the divorce happened.
Yeah, it's become that way over the years. My parents owned their own business back when I first got started in music, and the success rate of what I do, I think, is 1%. But I'm one of the very few lucky ones that made it through all that stuff. But it was a hell of a struggle, man. I'm not gonna lie, man. Been quit several times, but I just love doing what I do.
And so tell me.
Writing songs.
Yeah, and so tell me about the tour Between Heaven and Hell. How many dates and locations, and how long is this going to where is this going to take you over how many days or months?
Well, we kind of do it the same way every year. We start playing about the second or third week of January, and we go to the week before Christmas. So what the tour will be called next year, I'm not sure. I was talking to my manager about that yesterday. He never gave me an answer. He's been busy. He had to go out on the road with us, play tour manager last weekend. But yeah, I mean, the next year's tour will probably be called something else, and that's just how it works every year. It gets named something else. Usually the album that we're putting out that year,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And, is there anybody in particular that you grew up listening to that sort of inspired you, or that you try to, emulate in some form or fashion?
I think anybody that does what I do has influences, really not just music, but even if you're in sports or whatever. I mean, for me, it was Hank Jr. and Waylon. Those were the two main ones, Merle Haggard. And then I grew up on rock and roll as well, Ted Nugent, Black Sabbath. So all those kind of had their own impact on me.
Well, that fits the outlaw country singer, songwriter, genre, if you will. Creed Fisher is a Texas-based outlaw country singer, songwriter, as I just mentioned. He's coming to Aurora. It's October 11th at the Piazza. And is there a best place to go for tickets or more information on the tour, Creed?
My website's creedfisherofficial.com.
creedfisherofficial.com. creedfisherofficial.com.
It is all right there.
All right, October 11th at the Piazza in Aurora. Creed Fisher, thanks so much for joining us, and good luck with the tour.
Thanks for having me, man. I look forward to coming and seeing you guys.
All right, and Creed Fisher joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Wow. At the time of this being written, both gold and silver are up some 40%. That's 40% in just 1 year. In fact, this past year, gold has broken all-time historic records by hundreds of dollars an ounce. And unlike all other financial instruments used today, that historic record goes back thousands of years. In times like these, prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying spending the most ever on not only most gold coins and bars, but also those old coin and paper money collections. They're especially looking for the scarcer dates and higher grade coins. Take advantage of the record high market price and our huge demand now, whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out their worth. Fox Valley Coins is the place to go. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just one light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family-owned integrity since 1981. A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, Doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. MyPillow is offering the Classic Collection for wholesale prices. Only $19.98 for a standard MyPillow. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer the entire Classic Collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $24.98. Upgrade to king-size for only $29.98. Get the body pillows for $39.98. And the multi-use MyPillows for only $12.98. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing and receive $100 in free digital gifts when your order is $75 or more. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $19.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. That number again is 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
You know, nothing beats the comfort of a perfectly heated home.
And when it comes to heating your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Air Right Heating and Cooling is fast. When your furnace breaks down, they'll fix it right away.
Just like that. Big time results. No waiting around. You get the job done right. And let's face it, who doesn't love being warm, right? It's beautiful. When it's freezing, I crank up that amazing furnace. Burn, baby, burn. Trust me, you'll say, wow, I've never felt this warm in my life.
If you like keeping your hard-earned money, then contact Air Right Heating and Cooling. Tell them AM 560 sent you, and right now you'll receive $56 off any service.
Unbelievable.
Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion. That's billion with a B. Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words micro. That's pound 250, micro.
AM 560, The Answer.
Text from 331 regarding Creed Fisher. Not the most talkative guy in the world. Text from 331. He's like Billy Bob Thornton from Landman. Yeah, kinda. Yeah, it's the strong silent type. Okay, but I do like the music. All right, so right now, President Trump is addressing the top military brass gathered at Quantico. We'll have to discuss his remarks tomorrow. But we do have some of the highlights from what Pete Hegseth had to say, the Secretary of War, in advance of the president. Pretty pointed stuff like this about, cultural Marxism in the armed services. That's over.
This administration has done a great deal from day one to remove the social justice, politically correct, and toxic ideological garbage that had infected our department, to rip out the politics. No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses. No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or gender delusions. No more debris. As I've said before, and will say again, we are done with that.
Okay. Boy, I would have invited some of the old timers back, the Mark Millies of the world back, just to hear that put between his eyes. All those great strategic thinkers that formed the brain trust of the Biden administration, the architects of the Afghan withdrawal, for example. That's good stuff. So is this. If you thought the exchange between Mazie Hirano and Kash Patel about how many push-ups an FBI agent should be able to do was fun, this wasn't an exchange, but it certainly was a message.
If the Secretary of War can do regular, hard PT, so can every member of our joint force. Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon and leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are. So whether you're an airborne ranger or a chairborne ranger, a brand new private or a 4-star general, you need to meet the height and weight standards and pass your PT test.
Chairborne ranger.
And as the chairman said, yes, there is no PT test. But today, at my direction, every member of the joint force at every rank is required to take a PT test twice a year, as well as meet height and weight requirements twice a year, every year of service. Also today, at my direction, every warrior across our joint force is required to do PT every duty day. Should be common sense. Most units do that already.
I would have given anything to, I assume they were expressionless, but maybe not. Some of the 4-stars in the audience who maybe let the midsection get a little out of hand, reacting to that Sergeant Holka lecture from Pete Hegseth. Oh boy. Boy, that's fun. And there's a lot more to it, too. We just don't have enough time for it. But I'll look forward tomorrow to enjoying sharing what Pete Hegseth had to say. And I assume President Trump followed up on some of those value statements that Pete Hegseth offered. If I can do a push-up, you can do a push-up. Good stuff. All right. Thanks for joining us on another edition of Chicago's Morning Answer. Appreciate everybody who chimed in to add some color to the show. It is now 9 a.m. on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
The Commander-in-Chief addresses command.